Welcome back to DR Sports, everyone. We're into the final 3 hours of the transfer window. It's been quite an interesting day, hasn't it? Jorginho out of nowhere has come through. Last night, obviously, we first heard the rumours. That's been confirmed in the last couple of minutes. And Tottenham being busy, we'll talk about that. Man United, the news about Christian Eriksen. SABITZER has come through, so lots to discuss. Firstly, how is everyone? Let's welcome Laurie. Let's do a round of applause for Laurie. How are we?
Good to have him back.
Yeah,
it's good to have you back. You well? Neeks as well, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
And of course, Abbi.
Hello, darling.
How you doing?
Hello.
You've been frantically trying to find out if this Pedro Porro thing's been finally confirmed.
I mean, I'm still not getting anywhere knowing whether or not it's done or it's not done.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming this late in the game that it is being done.
Are you nervous? You think you're going to bottle it or something?
Honestly, Neeks, I don't even care anymore. I gave up caring a long time ago. If we sign him, great. If we don't sign him, then that's just typical Tottenham. So I'd like to sign him. I'd like it to go through and happen. I mean, I'm actually more shocked at Matt Doherty going to Atletico Madrid.
Yeah. I was, when I saw that, I was like, right.
Yeah, same.
Alongside some of the other signings we heard about today, that did sort of jump out of the page at me.
I did think to myself, it's like they did this with Kieran Trippier and they did actually make him better. So maybe when Matt Doherty comes back, he's going to be like elite. But then wouldn't it have been better to kind of take Royale and like really turn something?
I mean, what he might do is go to Atletico and actually win a trophy. That's what most people do when they leave Spurs.
Why have we got you with us?
We're for 3 hours of
it's
this.
a long stream, I mean, there's more where that came from.
What do you think of him as a player, by the way?
Who?
Doherty. Because the Spurs
Doherty?
fans I chat to seem to have made their mind up that he's not that good.
I mean, put it this way. You go from Kyle Walker and you end up with Kieran Trippier, right? Which is decent. And then Kieran Trippier, for whatever reason, wasn't working, left. Then you bring in Aurier. So, like, after Aurier, then you get Matt Doherty. Then after Matt Doherty, you get Emerson Royale. So, like, if I look at, like, our situation, it's been, like, that progressively. So then when we got Matt Doherty, he came off the back of that those seasons under Nuno at Wolves, and he'd been all right for Wolves, but no Wolves fan was actually crying about letting him go, which was a little bit weird. Couldn't really understand it. And then he just never looked that good. And then Emerson Royale came in and then made Matt Doherty actually look like a good footballer. So I don't know. He's definitely improved. I think he's one of the players I can say has probably improved under Conte. Matt Doherty is definitely not the worst.
Yeah.
But I think when you compare like the fullbacks that we had 4 years ago to what we have now, you can see that it's a massive decline.
Yeah.
And it's good to get him off the books, I guess, a loan deal. Let's see what happens in the summer. If he does well, maybe they'll take him on a deal.
We'll definitely touch on the Pedro Porro stuff in more detail, because you've just got me thinking that's your fourth right-back signing since Sergio Aurier, with Emerson, Matt Doherty, Jed Spence, and now Pedro Porro. But I think this is the one you've got right.
I think this is the one.
I've got to say, Sergio Aurier is surprising a lot of people at Forest. He's doing well.
Yeah. Again, it just... I also think that you have to look at it from a Spurs perspective in like the defence that they were in, and obviously our defence has not been very good for the past 3 years. So Aurier was okay, like he wasn't terrible, he was okay, and then progressively they've got a little bit worse. But when you look at them going to Atletico, like they defend all games, so they're going to be able to learn how to defend, because that's literally their sole purpose. And also you mentioned Jed Spence there, he's actually gone on loan to Rennes today.
Yeah.
Which, like, in a way, I would have preferred him to maybe go on loan somewhere in the Premier League. Like,
did he even get a minute for Spurs?
I don't think a full one in a 90-minute game. He's had a few.
Handful, maybe.
I just can't believe we're talking about Spurs.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we'll get
in
to
the table.
Let's start at the top.
What's going on there?
Do you know what? You had one job, right? You literally had one job to beat Arsenal, and you couldn't even do that.
Wait.
You were in a title race for 2 whole days.
Oh, is it?
2 whole days.
As I said, Abby, it's a long stream. I'm going to get back to you.
Yeah.
It's a long stream.
I kind of just want to let you two just fight it out. But let's go through. Let's start at the top. It's only right. You can see I'm shamelessly wearing my Italy jacket from Euro 2020. Because Arsenal have just confirmed the signing of Jorginho from Chelsea. Sporting director Edu has had this to say on Arsenal.com. Jorginho is an established professional with a strong mentality who brings quality and experience into our squad. He is a player who fits our style of play, and he joins us at a very good moment where he can contribute in a key position to help maintain our momentum. We welcome Jorginho to Arsenal. Arteta added Jorginho is a midfield player with intelligence, deep leadership skills, and a huge amount of Premier League and international experience. Jorginho has won in his career, but he still has the hunger and huge willingness to contribute here. As great as that all sounds, there we go. As good as that all sounds, you're not as convinced about this deal, Laurie, are you?
I must admit, as time has gone on, people have tried to placate me. But I'm not going to lie, James. I was actually in bed this morning when I heard it, and when I heard that news, it definitely woke me up. I had visions of going to a nightclub and pulling Beyonce, but instead I'm walking away having pulled Whoopi Goldberg. That's how I felt.
Oh, that's harsh on Whoopi Goldberg. That's harsh.
No, but in all seriousness, when I heard the news, I was genuinely taken aback, because I did a show the previous day, myself and Curtis, and we talked about whether there was a slight chance that the Caicedo deal might still be on. And if you think about it, in this current transfer window, we've been linked with the likes of Mudryk, João Felix and Caicedo, and then we end up with, which effectively is a Chelsea reject, let's be honest. So yeah, I wasn't the most pleased. However, as the day's gone on, I've spoken to yourself, I've spoken to Robbie, one or two other people in and around AFTV, and people are reeling out stats and talking about Ballon d'Or nominations and what a good player he was 2 years ago. His 94% penalty conversion rate and things like that. So listen, the Arsenal fan in me saying, listen, Laurie, slow down.
The shameless fan in you.
No, you know, it's only fair. Now that he's signed, we have to support the guy, so I'll be supporting him. But if you'd put this question to me yesterday, you know, before it came out,
You mean
do you want
this morning?
Jorginho? I would have said hell no.
Arsenal fans are shameless. And Laurie has proved, Laurie is the epitome of the Arsenal fan today and the shamelessness of Arsenal fans. Now, I get it.
I'm literally in an Italy jacket.
Exactly. I get it. Support the players that come in, I get it. But Arsenal fans have gone from raging in the morning, literally, Edu out. What are you doing?
It
at
was
this
trending.
club?
It was
of course
trending.
it was,
It's
because
trending.
that's what
Yeah, can
Arsenal
you
fans.
believe it?
Arsenal fans need to chill.
Listen, Edu out. How can you end up with, well, you didn't pay the extra €5 million for Mudryk, so you end up with Trossard, and then as soon as he signs...
No, Trossard's a good
Well,
player.
one second, as soon as he signs, he's great, he's played better than Mudryk anyway, we didn't want Mudryk. And then you wake up when you're supposed to be getting Caicedo, we all knew you weren't, the Brighton journalists from The Athletic told you weren't, but you were so convinced, you end up with Jorginho, and Arsenal fans were slating it. How could another Chelsea reject, from Willian to David Luiz, all these Brazilians coming to the club and ruin it, retirement home, what were you doing? And about 3 hours later, after, I guess, consulting with each other, they were in this big group chat. And not just AFT, but every Arsenal fan, there's one group chat that they were in. It must be on one of those, Telegram, other social media platforms are available, where no one can get in. And they're all talking, listen, guys, we need to have a united defense of all our players. And Laurie then comes out at 8:15 talking about, well, maybe it's a decent signing. No, be true to yourself. You didn't want him. You didn't want him.
I didn't want him.
None of you lot wanted him.
No, but
James didn't want him. Take off the shirt.
No, but
I'm half Italian. I just felt like whacking it on.
No, but you're right. In the spirit of a real fan, which is what I consider myself to be, now that he's signed, I have to give him my support. And I'll tell you why, because I've been quite vocal. James will tell you. I've been one of those fans who've been telling a lot of the Arsenal fans to get off Sambi Lokonga's back. I also said that, if you recall, James, when Xhaka was going through his periods. And Eddie is another one. So I'm quite consistent in that regard. I will try and back the players as much as I can. So I cannot now be a hypocrite, and just because I didn't want the guy, just throw him to the wolves. No, now that we've signed him, I'm going to give him a chance, because listen, there's a fair chance that he might well prove people like myself wrong.
But you know what it is? It's like, obviously, Arsenal fans didn't want him in the morning, and every morning before this morning. And then other fans are like, Arsenal ain't got Jorginho, I'm not really feeling that. And Arsenal fans are like, how dare you talk about our transfer window? We've had the best. And it's like, well, wait, you didn't want the player. I don't think the player is great. Like, come on, be consistent. Which one is it?
What do you think of the player and the signing?
I wouldn't want him at Man United. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but he doesn't.
He doesn't float your boat.
No.
He didn't float my boat.
None of the footballers float my boat in that way. But he doesn't. I think if you go into the perfect system, and I guess Arsenal are playing kind of the perfect system right now, it can work. If you build your team maybe around him, it can work. But I think he's got so many deficiencies, especially as a defensive midfielder in the Premier League, that unless everything is perfect around him, all of those come to the fore. And I think Chelsea fans have seen that. When Kante is not there, he is a completely different player. Even though you've got someone like Kovacic who's maybe next to him, who's a very good player, because his Kovacic's characteristics do not perfectly complement what Jorginho can't do, so the physicality and those kind of things. His deficiencies get highlighted. For Arsenal, the way that you're playing and all the players are ticking, and it may work. It may be a brilliant signing, but there's a reason why his contract was running down at Chelsea. And they have no reason to keep
When
it.
I heard about it, immediately I started getting visions of Willian. Seriously, I just thought it's another Willian.
Yeah, but I think this is different. I think this is. Do you know what?
Is it different, or is it just Arsenal are top of the
You
league?
defended the Trossard signing.
No,
I'm here for
I've been
Let's
very
go.
defensive of the Trossard signing because I think that's a very good signing.
No, I agree.
And
I agree.
look,
even though it kind of fell into our lap.
it did fall into your laps, but at the same time, you were smart enough to go and get it done. It's a good player to add to your roster, and the whole point of this window, in my opinion, for Arsenal was to add strength in depth. You know, if someone gets an injury, you have good enough cover. And for me, that's what Jorginho is. They're not bringing him in on £12 million to be a starter and to.
He might have to be. If Partey gets injured tomorrow, Jorginho's leading you to the title.
He might have to be. However, he's not been brought in for that job. He's been brought in as to bolster your squad. And I think that is a smart bit of business. Yeah, okay, you missed out on Mudryk. Maybe you'll get him in another 5 years' time when he leaves Chelsea. Fine. But I think that I still think that just because it's another one that's come in from Chelsea, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. You were looking at your options. Who else were you linked with? You couldn't have gone and got Caicedo because they don't want to sell Caicedo. And the thing is, you can't make someone sell someone if they don't want it. You know, if the club don't want to let you go, and I've seen that with Harry Kane. You can't physically go if the club say no. So for me, I'm like looking at your options. Jorginho, his Premier League experience. He was talked about his Ballon d'Or a few years ago. I mean, I know we're not talking about that now.
I wasn't talking about it then. I don't know why.
We're not talking about it now.
Disgrace.
But at the same time, I still think that there's a lot to be said for having someone that has also won titles.
I think the Ballon d'Or argument, the Ballon d'Or argument is redundant. Let's be honest. I mean, listen, I think we all agree that 2 months in football can sometimes seem a long time, let alone 2 years. 2 years is ancient. Might as well be talking about 2 decades.
But you know what it is for me? And where it makes it a good signing for Arsenal is that he's better than Lokonga and he's better than Onene.
Is it though?
So getting him in is better than getting no one. Which, if you didn't get Caicedo, was the other option.
I'll tell you why that argument is slightly flawed. Because if you listen to a lot of the Arsenal fan base, right, and I'm not necessarily putting myself in that.
Talking about James.
A lot of them will say that Lokonga and Elneny are mediocre at best. Okay, Elneny's had a decent season, but I think it's fair to say, and I'm sure James will back me up on this, that he's not been a stellar signing by any stretch of the imagination. So if you're bringing in a guy at this stage, and the rationale for bringing him in is because he's better than Sambi and Elneny, 2 players which James, again, I'm sure will agree with me, have been much maligned in the past. Lokonga at present.
Yeah.
To say, but he's better than those 2, it's not really a ringing endorsement, is it, James?
Okay. It's been interesting hearing from all you three, because, as always, because I'm a notorious fence sitter, I agree with some and not a lot. Where I am with it is, I can't pretend I wasn't disappointed when it came through that was the plan B. I thought, but not because of the player, and I'll explain what I mean by that. There were 2 things. It's the fact that we've done this whole Chelsea thing again. I felt we were past that. We built such a young, exciting squad. People were looking at it and going, that's how we want to build squads, like Arsenal have. That's what a process is. That's what a project is. It's getting rid of players, however you've got to do it, investing in your youth, and then adding the right players at a good age, Zinchenko, Jesus, and letting them grow together. So I thought, okay, well, Jorginho doesn't really fit that, and he's coming from Chelsea and all that. Like we've done before with David Luiz, Willian, Cech, although I actually thought David Luiz was quite good for us. The other thing is that I felt he wasn't actually, again, I rate the player, what he can do, but I felt he feels like the kind of holding midfielder that needs runners around him. Now, wearing this, the Italy jacket, I followed Italy at Euro 2020, my mum's Italian, I follow Italy and England, and at the Euros, I looked at Jorginho, he was brilliant at the base of a midfield 3. He played really well that tournament. But there's 2 things. A, international football tends to be a tempo below the Premier League, and he had around him Locatelli, Barella, runners, players that could play.
But he's got a great team around him at Arsenal.
Right, so then I started to look, okay, well, let's look at the positives. Well, he'll play at the base of a midfield three for Arsenal, so actually, you know, he's kind of mirrors what he did for Italy there a little bit. I'll add to that as well that, you know, Arteta's wanted him for a long time. This isn't, oh, where can we just pick someone up and, you know, whoever. He looked at him in 2020 when we were trying to chase Partey as well. Didn't happen then. He wanted him at Man City when he was assistant to Guardiola. There's quotes going around that he talked about teams playing with traditional number sixes, you know, that could control games like Busquets and Jorginho, a player he loves. Those were his words. So he clearly really rates Jorginho. And if I'm to throw one more positive out there, it is that you can't argue with this guy's CV. He wasn't just part of a Chelsea squad that kind of stumbled to some wins. He was at the base of Italy's Euro 2020 win. He was in a midfield too when they won the Champions League as well. He's then gone and won the Europa League, beat Arsenal in that final. So he has performed on the big stage before. And would he not be motivated to come to Arsenal and go, this is my chance at a domestic trophy, at a Premier League, and just to prolong,
I think Arsenal win the league with or without Jorginho.
Well,
so him
maybe.
joining, it's like, well, I'd rather win the league than be sitting in 10th.
It's for squad depth. Like, I don't understand what the big thing is about it. I get it, it's not a superstar player that you wanted to bring in, but, you know, unless you're Chelsea, there's not been many superstars in January that are doing much, you know, or bringing in for the amount of money that people are going for in this window. And I think, why would you want to go and spend so big in this window if you don't necessarily have to?
No, you know what it is, Abby?
They did want to, but they didn't in the end, and then they did smart signings.
I'll tell you what, if at the beginning of the window, you went and got Trossard and Jorginho. You say that's what we really wanted. A bit of squad depth, boosted the squad, and we go. But you wanted Mudryk, and you wanted Caicedo. That's big money, stellar signings who are obviously have got the longevity as well in terms of their age. Now, of course, if you can't get them, getting something like Trossard, like Jorginho, is better. So you kind of say, all right, you know, we couldn't get what we want, we take it.
Yeah.
But what I guess my thing is more in the Arsenal fans is like, let's call a spade a spade. Say what it really is. You wanted Caicedo, you didn't get Caicedo. Yeah, beggars can't be choosers. Let's not try and gloss it up and start bringing up his stats and comparing. Actually, he's better than this person because no, I don't care if it says he's got the same amount of recoveries as XYZ. He can't run.
Okay,
I've watched him for the last.
You raise an interesting point because no sooner had we signed him than I was online and I was speaking to Chelsea fans who obviously watch him week in, week out when he's playing because he's not really starting for Chelsea. And they said that, listen, the guy's legs have gone. Now, I heard James articulate his performances in the Euros and 2-3 years ago, fine. But as I said, 2-3 years ago is a long time in football. And I have to say that it's a very underwhelming signing, man.
You know what I look at defensive midfielders in the Premier League? And obviously we know he's not the best. And he can boost the squad. And I said, he's better than El Neni and better than Lokonga. But if you look at Fabinho, Rodri, Casemiro's come now, all of those can do the passing and all that kind of stuff like we've seen. But the physicality element of it is so important. Why we talk about them being either the best defensive midfielder in the world at the time or best in the league or whatever it is. Fabinho now lost that physicality. And he's not the player that he was. Jorginho's never had that physicality. So again, if you build the perfect team around him, then yes, he can work. But then I would ask, is he worth building the team around?
But I don't think we will be building the team around him.
You're not building the team around him.
I think we'll just be saying...
It's sorry to interrupt you. It's just like saying that you're not going to build a team around Wout Weghorst. It's literally...
I'm not like the Man United fans who are trying to...
But it's literally the same thing. It's like...
I agree.
Wait, hold on, let me finish. Let me finish. It's like you bring in Wout Weghorst...
No, she didn't.
Because it's the exact same thing. You bring in Wout Weghorst to do a job for you on a short-term loan, right? They've signed Jorginho on an 18-month contract for 12 million. It's a no-brainer. It's to bolster your squad. Someone that's actually played Champions League football. Arsenal haven't even had Champions League football for God knows how long. They need that mentality of someone that has won the Euros, played at elite top level. It doesn't matter if his legs might not be what they used to be. He's been brought in to keep that mentality going and to do the job when he's needed to be doing it.
Wout Weghorst, and when we signed Wout Weghorst, I said to the Man United fans who were trying to basically polish a turd. I'm not saying we shouldn't have signed him, but let's call it. No, but I'm being serious. I'm not saying we shouldn't have signed him because we needed it because Martial's always injured and Ronaldo left. So you need a body. You can't play a game with 10 men. It is a 6 foot plus turd. But let's call it what it is. It's a very underwhelming signing. It
is.
And we just need to make the best of
It's
it.
underwhelming, but it's smart.
No, but that's all I'm saying.
It's a smart signing.
No, it's a necessary. It's a necessary
Let me tell you,
signing. I don't think it's
when Spurs were in that title race all those years ago under Harry Redknapp and we needed someone, I'd have loved to get Trossard and Jorginho. We ended up with Ryan Nelson and Louis Saha. So that's
Louis
a bad
Saha
one.
was a good player.
Yeah, not at 33.
You know what it is? Somebody, I think it was Curtis, shout out to Curtis, he's probably watching this. He made a very interesting point on his live today. He was saying that, listen, had we been in 6th place and we were fighting to get in the top 4, I wouldn't have too much of a problem with it, is what he was saying. And I know where he's coming from. He's saying, but we're 5 points clear in the title race ahead of City, who are a formidable side. So our target at the moment is, let's be honest, we want to win the title. Bringing in Jorginho, who, let's face it, has seen better days. I don't care anybody, I don't care how many stats people want to reel out, how many Ballon d'Or nominations they want to talk about. The fact is, this man cannot get in a Chelsea team that's 10th in the table at the moment and struggling.
That's not true. He plays for them.
Yeah, but is he a regular starter?
Yeah, every
maybe
Chelsea
that's
manager,
why. Maybe that's why they're 10.
No, he's not a regular starter.
You're the worst.
Is he currently a regular starter?
Yeah.
Did he play in their last game?
I think he played more recently, but
I don't think he's been starting every game, Joe.
Well, I hope he was, because I said with real conviction.
Because the Chelsea fans that I spoke to today said it's not been starting.
But you touched on something very interesting there, which is the Chelsea element. Now, like anything, we've signed a Chelsea player. I thought, let's go do my research. But not just, I've been watching this guy. I want to know from Chelsea fans. What I found really, and let me just make it clear, I'm also underwhelmed by this signing. I'm also a little bit like, with the targets out there.
Sorry, Jay, can we just clarify? So Abby's the only one happy with this signing?
No,
and she's a Spurs fan.
I'm with Abby.
Interesting.
I just think it's smart.
That we did something, but
I'd rather they didn't sign Trossard.
Yeah, he started 15 Premier League games this year, by the way.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So still a lot. So
that's what.
With I was speaking to Chelsea fans. Let me read you what Matisse has said, because we were texting earlier. He's giving me permission to read this out. He says, Jorginho, very specific, but he's very good for possession-based sides in terms of build-up, upgrade on El Neni Lokonga, needs pace around him off the ball, wins a lot of tackles and interceptions in close quarters, makes sense. In transition, that's when you're in big trouble if you open up too much, but he's brilliant in Europe. A little bit inconsistent in the Premier League, perfect as Europa League starter and come off the bench in specific scenarios. So, okay, that's all right. It doesn't sound too bad. But if you look at what other Chelsea fans are saying, I'm speaking to Ellie, who we've seen on DR Sports many times, big Chelsea fan. I was looking at Carefree Lewis on Twitter as well, listening to Rory Jennings. Loads of people have said, you know what? This is a good signing for Arsenal, and we're actually quite sad he's leaving Chelsea, because behind the scenes, this is something Ellie was saying, he's a massive personality, he's a massive character that brings things together, and these are the things that Arteta has really valued. I've always thought, why is he so fixed on Granit Xhaka? I don't get it. But there was something behind the scenes that he added, as well as just doing what was asked of him on the pitch. And like Abbi said, if Partey were out now for 3 months and we had to address that position, I'd feel a little underwhelmed. I'm thinking, well, that's our midfield seriously slowed down. We've lacked that physical presence. I'd be a bit worried. But it's El Neni who's got the long-term injury, and Jorginho's come in just to do a job. I'm sure he's got the hunger to try and get us over the line for a Premier League title. I'm sure he understands his role in the squad. But also, let's not also underestimate his quality on the ball. I was at the at Stamford Bridge when we won 1-0. We beat Chelsea. That last half hour, once we got the goal, you remember it, Laurie, we didn't sit back and try and protect what we had. We passed. We just killed them with passes after that. You can't touch the ball. And that is where Jorginho comes in and absolutely doesn't stifle anything. If anything, maybe lifts it, because Partey, as good a passer as he is, can be a little all over the place with it sometimes. So I think there's a player here who, you touched on it earlier, Nick. Had we started the window, we got Trossard, Jorginho. Okay, well then that was part of the plan. Then fine. But I slightly disagree with that, because Arsenal shown ambition in 2 positions. They wanted to go to 85, 90 million with Mudryk, but Chelsea beat us to him. They wanted to go to 70, 75 million with Caicedo. We couldn't do the deal. So they've gone, okay, we'll just go to the tier below. And I think fair enough, they've done something rather than leaving it.
I think you're right, and I think there's an old saying: it's the expectation that kills.
Yeah.
As you pointed out earlier, we was in the hunt for Mudryk. That was well publicised. We missed out on that.
He was
We
twerking
got
like John
gazumped.
Gomez on Instagram.
And the João Felix, let's be honest, man,
Oh, yeah,
we
I forgot
were
about it.
pursuing him.
We were, yeah, another one, yeah.
We missed out on
we
him to
wanted him as well,
Chelsea.
Man United.
The Caicedo, we didn't get him. I must admit, the minute that guy released that statement over the weekend, I knew we weren't going to get him. If anything, the Brighton hierarchy
Yeah,
saw
that
that and
kinda-
thought, no way, we're going to allow you to do this. So that was out the question. So listen, Arsenal are in that situation where they do have to act because, as James pointed out, we're only one injury away from possibly the season going belly up. So they do have to act. And like I said, I think it was because of the expectation when they've been linked with these other players, we didn't get them. I wake up this morning, Jorginho looks to be a done deal. I'm thinking, what? How you gone from them man to Jorginho? But as I said, now I'm starting to accept it more. It's starting to make more sense. So once I've got over my initial disappointment, and I'm sure a lot of the other fans, Arsenal fans across the world feel the same way. Once you get over your initial disappointment, you start to look at the facts. You think, actually, it could be a good signing. And yes, you're right, James. It is a upgrade on Sambi Lokonga and El Neni.
Let's go through some comments, super chats.
Yeah,
what have we got?
Let's have a look. There's a lot of people commenting on all of this. Some agreeing with it's quite a split thing. Actually, we should maybe do a poll and see what.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Is Jorginho a good signing for Arsenal?
Yeah, let's see what you guys say. Dave Jordan in Super Chat said, after 3 years of negativity, merchants being wrong, you'd think they'd learn their lesson. Some fans would still have Uber up top. Jorginho is a top signing. Ibby B says, how dare you, Neeks? Who told you about our group chat? I'll be bringing this up to the higher council at our next meeting. Laurie and James, see you there. He also says, I don't get this discourse. He's here to be a backup. Absolutely right. And Lubert says, be realistic. As an Arsenal fan, I'm fine with the signings, but imagine simply spending so much money on Mudryk and Caicedo. Are they worth the money and according to their experience? And that's what I've said since day one of the transfer window. I've said it the whole
Voice
time.
of reason.
I feel like I'm reasonable. Just because it's Arsenal doesn't mean I can't be
Abby's
reasonable.
speaking like a Spurs fan.
I'm
who don't
actually
have money.
not. I don't have money.
That's what it is.
But at the same time,
not spending
You two
money
need
is
to show
the
me.
if
You gotta admit, she
Tottenham were
killed you
going to
with the
go...
Weghorst.
No, because I don't like Weghorst's not my guy.
The chat said I killed you. I did kill you.
Of course they were, 'cause I know he's egging it on. That's why.
If Tottenham were going to go and spend £80 million on a player that has played for 6 months, same as Enzo Fernandez, if they were going to go and break the British transfer record
might
for a
actually win a
player
trophy.
that has
Oh, sorry, go on.
that has
I thought I was
played
trying to
for
finish the
6
sentence.
months, or and at a high level, but only 6 months, I'd be saying, why are you doing that? I'd rather you go and spend the money on someone that has been proven, like a Caicedo, for an example, who's again only played 26 games for Brighton, which I still think is outrageous.
Shall I
for
tell
the
you
price
though,
tag.
one of the things, and I'll be interested to hear what James thinks about this, because I honestly do feel this. It's just, as an Arsenal fan, we've been here so many times before where high-profile player comes on the market, Arsenal are said to be in the running for him. How many times have we actually pulled it off?
So that's a very, I think...
And I think that's what lies at a lot of the criticism.
Yeah.
And I feel a little bit sorry for Jorginho in that regard, because I was guilty of it myself. It's that kind of disappointment, that feeling you get that when you're going for these so-called high-profile, much sought-after signings, every time we seem to go up against the bigger clubs, we fall short, and we don't get what we want, and then we end up with a...
That's a fair
player,
point.
but not who we... Because even Trossard, and listen... I'm fully on board with the Trossard side, even though, as I said to Abby, it kind of fell into our lap a little bit, we've got to be honest. But the Mudryk was a big deal for a lot of Arsenal fans, and we didn't get him. And it's the manner of the way we lost out. That last-minute gazumping by Chelsea.
I think that's fair. Why we've had 3 high-profile pursuits in Vlahovic, which was about 70-80 million they wanted, Mudryk, and now...
But you didn't really go in for Vlahovic.
Well,
No, we did.
yeah.
It was
We
like
did.
it was
Well,
like
it's
it was more of like
disputed.
a sniff. I don't think you were like fully there. Like
No, I think
like
we were.
money
We were
on the
fully invested.
money on the table.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think there was money on the
There's lots of
table.
We were in the market
contradicting
for
reports.
him.
All right, but you weren't you were at the restaurant. We weren't necessarily eating at the
Well,
restaurant.
this is it. This is the point I'm
You were
making.
sniffing around.
it
This is
was
what
fully
I mean.
booked. The restaurant was fully
It's
booked.
different this time. You have been sniffing around those type of places, and you have been willing to part with the cash if the deal was there. Mudryk, we don't know what happened, why he ended up going to Chelsea, or why you didn't want to pay it, or whatever happened in that deal. Caicedo, you can't take a player that is still in contract. He's only been there or played for 26 games. I'm sure they will sell him because they only bought him for 4 million. So at some point they are going to want to cash in because Brighton always do. But if I was Brighton, I'd be like, no, you're not having him. You've just taken Trossard, obviously from the fallout. All they ever do is get their players taken away, and and it's a credit to them how well that they managed to recover, and they've got the chance of getting European football. So if I was the Brighton chairman, I'd say absolutely not, you're not taking him, and that's completely fair. And if it was the other way round, you'd feel the same.
We'd been linked with Mudryk for a number of weeks. This guy was literally twerking to come to Arsenal.
Yeah, he was.
He was putting out
like Joe Gomez on the pitch against.
No, but seriously, that was such a disappointment for the vast majority of the Arsenal fan base, because it was a case, wasn't James, of not is he going to sign, but when is it? Why hasn't it got done yet? Why hasn't it got done yet? All of a sudden, Chelsea come on the scene, and within a few weeks, they've left with the player.
Yeah. Let's hear what some Arsenal fans have to make of it. This is an exclusive look at Cecil, Arsenal fans. It's out tomorrow on AFTV. Full video will be out. And this is what they had to say around the Jorginho deal.
How much did we pay him?
We paid 12 million only for 18 months.
Stopgap, it might work as long as we didn't spend a lot. But I quite like the policy of bringing the youth through.
Yeah, so do I.
But there's going to be times when we're going to...
Especially this season,
Yeah.
Very happy given that we couldn't get our original target.
Caicedo,
yeah. But I think it's going to be a great cover for us, and I think we need it. I think he'll see us through to the championship.
Yeah, I'm happy for that, but we have enough players what we need for that. We need additional striker, besides of Jesus.
Yeah.
We know that Nketiah is good as well, but I'm happy with Jorginho, but my expectation to have more additional striker as well. But yeah, we are happy with Jorginho. He's good in the penalties, in the free kicks as well. So we are happy for that.
Jorginho, new player at Arsenal. Are you happy with that signing?
Yes.
So we've heard from the Arsenal fans there. They seem largely okay with the deal and understanding why it's happened. Let me just... This was something I wrote down in my notes earlier. It goes back to that super chat Dave Jordan sent in about people maybe learning after the last 3 years, the decisions that have been made, the ones that have been questioned, and where it's kind of left us. Here's just some stuff that I remember. Xhaka getting a new contract in 2020. Was it 20? No, 2021 was a disgrace. Aaron Ramsdale's not good enough. Why are we paying 30 million for him? 50 million for Ben White is overpaying. Odegaard, just pay 70 million for James Maddison. Jesus is good, but not the difference. We need another striker. Saliba out on loan again. What are they doing? Eddie Nketiah wearing the number 14, and he's being paid what? Leno to Matt Turner is a downgrade. And then Carve Solokol asking what position Tomiyasu plays, but that wasn't on him.
Yeah.
That was on him, not the Arsenal fans. But the point I'm making is, how often have Arsenal signings been questioned, whether it be by the media or by Arsenal fans in particular, decisions that have been made, and we've been proven wrong? Willian.
No, but there's been a few of those. The Willian, the David
we
Luiz.
got right. We were absolutely.
You could go as far back as Kim
If he wasn't from Chelsea, would you care? Would you feel this aggrieved?
That's a big point. No.
It's just because you've been done over before.
And I think he lacks mobility for... Partey and El Neni, they get around the pitch very, very well. And I think that's why El Neni's always been a good, understudy to Partey, and why he's done so well in that role. Arsenal play very open, expansive football now. So I do have that fear about Jorginho. But there is undoubtedly that sense of, we've been down this road before with former Chelsea players, why are we doing it again? But I do think that when you look at those, that list of that set of notes I've got there, so many times where we've had serious doubts, Arteta and Edu's judgment has come through. So I don't mind your stance at all, Laurie. And mine's pretty similar. I'm a bit underwhelmed. I'm not sure. I kind of get why we
trust the manager's judgment.
But just at least have the conscience to go, but I kind of know where we've been with this before, so let's just see what happens.
For me, that should have been... No, it's not even should have been. But if that was the feeling when the news first broke, because that should have like the Val Veckles. When I saw the Val Veckles one, I was like, but you know what? Ten Hag said he's not going to bring in anyone who's not going to kind of follow his philosophy. It's not just it's a random sign-in, but it's not just anybody. It's somebody who he didn't really want, but at least he's going to do the job that he wants. And I get that. You say, you know what? I trust the manager's judgment on that. I wouldn't have got him, and my manager wouldn't have got him as his first choice, but we couldn't get our first choice. So I get that, and I agree Arsenal fans should, Arteta and Edu have got a past history enough to say, what, the likelihood of this this deal working is higher than it not working based
And
on the
Let's have it right.
They might get it
Let's
wrong.
have it right. Yeah, when that signing was announced, and I don't, I'm going to say this quite freely, I wouldn't hesitate to say that 90%, easy 90%, would not have been jumping up and down. So, oh, we got Jorginho. No one would have been excited by that signing. And a fair degree of the Arsenal fan base, again, myself included, would have been genuinely underwhelmed. But like I said, when you rationalise it in the cold light of day, you look at the stats, you look at his experience, you speak to people, you think, actually, you know what? He could be a very good signing. And as you guys have said, I think Arteta and Edu deserve our support and trust over this. So as much as I had my initial feelings of disappointment, I've now got to come to,
acceptance, isn't it?
acceptance and say, well, listen, it is what it is. He is here.
They might,
now he is
might
here.
know what
Let's
they're
support
doing.
him.
Like they might have a clue what they're doing.
It could go wrong. It could absolutely go wrong. All I'm saying is,
And then we'll let him know about it.
all I'm saying is, if people don't like the transfer, people don't like the player, that is so fine. I have an issue there. I have plenty of reservations myself. It's the people who, and I've spoken to many, who are saying categorically, absolutely, he'll be a failure. Why are we doing it? Complete waste. It's like, come on, open your minds a little bit. But that's just my opinion. We've got some super chats and we've got the poll results as well.
Yes, we do. Big Ash said, in football, it's just like religion. You either have faith or you don't. Even living through a miracle won't change the minds of those that don't believe. And I think, look, just to say on Arsenal, I think I've been very actually kind to Arsenal.
Questioning your allegiance.
I genuinely think that it's a smart window, and I've said that the whole way along. I said from January 1st, if you're going to do stuff in this window, it needs to be about squad depth and about building that, because it's a long old season. It's been extra long because of the World Cup. It's going to be, there's going to be injuries. You've been quite lucky that you haven't had too many injuries so far. I know Gabriel Jesus is a big miss. Whether or not, I know El Neni's out now.
Yeah,
right?
El Neni now is likely to miss the rest of the season.
And potentially Partey, something going on with
No,
Partey?
Partey had a rib problem, but I think he's fine. For
Okay, so
Everton,
you never know, but you haven't been damaged too badly. But I think
let's be honest as well. Fans, they tend to look at it from more what excites them.
Yeah, of course.
So January transfer windows, you're looking for that little bit of lift, that shot in the arm. So you think back to when we signed Ozil, Aubameyang, people like that. Those were signings that would genuinely get fans off their seat.
It was, but what did, but when you look at when you
don't
look
say
back,
that about Jorginho.
When you look back, they didn't. What did Aubameyang do for you?
What?
Oh,
What
no,
did Aubameyang
Aubameyang was
do?
good. Aubameyang was good.
Yes,
very
he
good
got
for us.
goals, but he didn't. You
won
didn't
the
get
league,
back.
won
He won the Golden
FA Cup.
Boot. He won us an FA
did,
Cup.
but you didn't get to the Champions League. You can't pin everything off of one player. This is you having an all-round good squad. It's not to say Aubameyang wasn't a great player. I remember when you signed him. I was so jealous when you signed him.
Can I
But
ask a question,
it didn't elevate your squad.
I don't know, he
and
did.
it's a
He
great
did.
point
He
raised
did.
by
He
Abby,
did.
because while Aubameyang was undoubtedly, I think, overall a success because
Yeah.
of what he won and the goals he scored, I remember that January we signed him and Mkhitaryan, and I remember thinking we kind of didn't really need either of those players. If that we lost Sanchez, so we needed a winger, and that was a swap. Didn't work for either of us.
No,
did it? And then we just signed Lacazette 4 months before, and we were spending 60 million on Aubameyang. So I know what you mean. While there have been other success stories in the window,
Yeah, Giroud
at least
even
this
that.
one is clearly Arsenal addressing a problem.
addressing
Giroud
the
leave
problem.
No, but what
And
the
that's
point
what
I'm
you didn't
making
do
is
last year.
I distinctly
Aubameyang was very
remember
good
the vibes around Aubameyang when he came to the club. It was genuine excitement. Likewise with Mesut Ozil, and this is what I'm saying.
And Sanchez.
To be fair, Jorginho is not going to elicit that type of response.
But can I-
However,
can I-
to go back to what James was saying, it doesn't mean to say that
not gonna be a
over
bad
time he
signing,
won't
no.
be a good signing.
But are Arsenal fans nervous? And I say nervous in terms of towards the title, obviously win the title race. And I think that's maybe why, as I said, this morning, Arsenal fans were angry. Like, they were angry. And I'm like, well, guys, you're top of the league. You're probably going to, for me, you're going to win the league. Man City are playing so bad. You're playing so good. You should win the league.
It's 19 games left.
I know, but I just look at the trajectory of how, and Man City lost Cancelo. There's a
we'll
lot of
talk
things
about
going
that
on
in a bit.
behind the scenes at Man City, whereas everything at Arsenal seems to be ticking. As I say, you don't get Mudryk, you get Trossard, and he comes on, he does well against Man United, he plays well against Man City. Obviously, he lost the game, but it is what it is. But I kind of did a bit of research on Man United, and we've been in title race, obviously, 30 times. 07, 08, I went from 07 to 2013, so our last five Premier League titles. We signed in January Henrik Larsson on loan in 06-07. In 07-08, we signed Possebon, Raphael, and Manucho. If you're a Man United fan, you know. If you might not if you're not. 08-09, Tosic and Richie Delette from Stoke centre-back. We won the league in those 3 years. 11-12, on 9-10 we didn't sign anyone. Chelsea won the league. 11-12, Scholes came back out of retirement. Man City won the league on goal difference. And 12-13 we signed Zaha, who wasn't coming on to the end of the season. I say that to say, the first three especially, Larsson and then the Raphael and Tosic and all that, when we made those signings in that January, I don't remember, obviously social media wasn't around, but you still contact with a lot of Man United fans. There wasn't outcry at why we're just getting a 30-odd-year-old Henrik Larsson or this player, because there was confidence that, you know what, our squad is good enough. We're gonna, we've got a chance to win the league regardless. I think the mixture of Chelsea doing this crazy business that's made everyone think, well, if Chelsea can sign 100 players, at least we can get 2 for 100 million kind of thing. And the fact that maybe Arsenal fans are, I won't say cracking under the pressure, but the pressure is there where they're thinking, if we don't get this, we might not win the league. Whereas when we were like, Larsson, let's see what he can do. And Larsson came and did a job for 3 months.
So you have come full circle and you've agreed with me then?
No. Where I started with Arsenal fans basically flip-flopping.
You're flip-flopping?
No, Arsenal fans, because they say at one moment they were like, I'm angry. And then 5 hours later, greatest signing in the world.
But to be fair, Diggs, I think that's, as I was saying, and James said it as well, it's a natural reaction. It's a natural reaction. The anger that you talk about, with me, it wasn't anger. It was more of a sense of disappointment.
You pulled your hair out, Laura.
The disappointment was palpable, yeah? However, like with a lot of things, when you're disappointed, after a few hours, you start to rationalise and try and make good of what you got. As I said before, it's the expectation that kills. And we've been here before as Arsenal fans. We're linked with a player, we get excited, and then invariably we don't get that player that we were seeking. So we were thinking, and I'm sure James was a little bit of this as well, oh God, here we go again. But like I said, now we've got him, we have to sit down and think, what can he bring? We look at the practicalities, we look at his attributes, what he can bring. And you then start to see where it makes sense.
You asked the question. We'll move on from Jorginho now. I do want to ask another question though around this topic. Just before though, you asked whether Arsenal fans are nervous. I can't speak for all Arsenal fans, and some Arsenal fans were really happy to back this signing from the start. Some were in utter meltdown, and that's fine. Everyone can have their opinions on it. But you asked whether they're nervous. They might be. I'm quite nervous because how long's it been since we've been in a title race? How long has it been since we've been this competitive? And you want to make sure you're not missing any possible opportunity. The thought of even drawing at home to Man United, which isn't a bad result, it's like, oh, but that's 2 points dropped, So there's that tension. But I guess what better to do than bring in a player, again, this isn't for the fan base, but for that group, that young group to go, I've won things, I've done things. It doesn't, let's bring an air of calm. And if he can do that, Jorginho, he'll be a success. He needs to give us 5 good months. It's all I need from him.
5 solid penalties. That should take you to
5 hop and skip penalties, score them all, and you're good.
Can I just answer that question as well about the nervousness? And I'm speaking for myself. Me, I am not nervous, and I'll tell you why. Because at the start of this season, coming off the back of 2 8th-place finishes, I was one of those, and I'll say openly, that I was questioning Arteta.
I think any logical fan would.
Yeah, and I'm being honest. I'm not capping like some people. I was questioning him, and I'm saying to myself, you know what? I will give you... I wasn't calling for him to be relieved of his duties, but I'm saying, listen, you've got until Christmas to show me that you are the man for this job. Now, I've got to be honest and say he's done a great job so far, and us topping the table is something that I did not see. Yeah, not at all. I was thinking, if we can get top 4, I'll be more than happy with that. So now we're topping the league and playing well and the vibes is good. I'm one of those that's embracing it rather than being nervous. I'm thinking, City, bring it on, because we are here. We've shown our hands, you know what we're about. We're bringing it, we're sticking our chests out, and we've got a very good chance of winning the title. So I'm not necessarily nervous. If we do fall short, depending on the manner, if we fall short, I don't think we will, but if we were to fall short...
You want Jorginho's head on her?
No. I'm going to look at it and say, well, at the start of this season, man, I could not have foreseen the season that we had, so I think we need to support the team and embrace the situation.
Some other transfer news coming out of Arsenal very recently from Fabrizio Romano in the last hour. Fulham have completed the agreement to sign Cedric from Arsenal. Verbal deal in place last week, and he's given it his here we go. Fulham will cover Cedric's full salary until the end of the season.
A quick one on Willian before you go further. Willian got a hard time at Arsenal, didn't he? But fair play to the guy.
Doing very well at Fulham, yeah.
And by all accounts, he's been one of Fulham's best players this season.
Fair play to him. In signing Jorginho means we've missed out on Moises Caicedo. He was chased by Chelsea as well. We know that obviously Friday night after the Man City defeat, Arsenal suffered. Caicedo and his agent, it felt like a joint, plan to put out this statement. It didn't work for Caicedo, it worked for Anthony Gordon. Do transfer requests, does forcing a move work? Is it the right thing to do? Can you understand why players want to take opportunities? How do we kind of view, because he's now got to go back to training on Monday or whenever it is and give his all for Brighton. It's a very awkward situation. I kind of feel a bit sorry for him, even though
for Caicedo
a little bit, because you don't know how much he's been influenced, how much is what he wants to do.
You see, for me, I don't have an issue with players doing what they're going to do. Just be prepared for the consequences on the other side. So don't, for example, I'll give you an example. Recently we heard Sol Campbell talking about, he wants a better reception from Spurs fans. I don't know all the chants, but apparently some of them are not great, whatever. But when you make those big decisions, you know the impact and how fans are going to react. So be prepared. Anthony Gordon, for example, I'm going to say that. Anthony Gordon, for me, I think it was disgraceful. I think it was absolutely disgraceful what he did.
The way you said that,
I was so... I don't even know him. I don't care about him. I don't care about Everton in that way. But just the thought of, this is your boyhood club. You're supposed to be a fan of this club. That's what you say, you're a fan of this club. And to hand a transfer request is one thing. But to do that in the midst of a relegation battle, Everton, one of the only teams that haven't been relegated from the Premier League and one of the longest serving teams in the top division of English football, to hand in a transfer request in the midst of a relegation battle and then decide to not turn up for training for, I think it was 3 days. At his age, let's be honest, he ain't done nothing in football. He has not done anything in football. Who the hell do you think you are? That's the way I'm looking at it. So that's why I was like, that's a disgrace. Now, Caicedo was told to not come to training. He didn't. But
he also said he wouldn't turn up. I think he said he wouldn't train and he wouldn't play in the match.
I just think Anthony Gordon one was a bit more because he's supposed to be an Everton fan, come through the academy. They kind of put you. Obviously, you got your talent. You've done what you have to do. But they also gave you the opportunity when there's a lot of players who go in these academies and then fall by the wayside. You got the opportunity, and you've taken it to an extent. But for someone who hasn't even turned up this season, and then you want to bail on your team at that moment, I think was disgraceful. But as I said, these players, they can do what they want. But don't expect. You have to just be prepared for the backlash. So if Caicedo gets booed, I don't want to see no post about disappointed with the reaction from the fans.
I think what you said about Anthony Gordon is pretty much spot on. I think Caicedo was a little less egregious. However, and I'm sure you guys will have your thoughts on this, I must admit, when he released that statement on Saturday, I thought, this is really corny, bro. I mean, if you've read the statement as well, he's basically saying I was one of 10 siblings from Ecuador, I grew up poor. Fair enough, fine. Yeah. You've worked your way up, you've done well. But listen, man, and then you're in the statement, you're saying things like, well, when you get the money from me, you can reinvest it.
Well, that's not your business.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're in the Brighton hierarchy and you saw that, I would imagine they would have been quite angered. They're like, listen, we owed your registration. You know what I mean? You can go on gardening leave and come back after the transfer window's done. How dare you tell us how to run our business? So you putting out a statement saying the money that you get, you only paid X amount for me, the money you get, you can reinvest it.
And I'm not saying that
was so corny.
He's not paid the going rate as it stands. I think his current contract's about 15k. It's gone up this season.
I think it's before
it was 3.5.
Oh, okay.
But I think this season it went up to 15k. Right, and this was it'll be 15k from this season on to the end of his contract. in the footballing world, he's getting paid peanuts. But in the midst of a cost of living crisis, I'm gonna be honest. I don't care that you're the last of 10.
No, but
I don't care. You're earning 15 grand a week. I don't care that you're the last of 10.
No, but Nick, you know what it is
you're
as well for me?
You're a millionaire.
I don't begrudge him.
I'm not saying I
going
begrudge
after
him,
more
but I
money.
don't care.
Okay.
It's not tugging on my heartstrings.
fair
What I'm
enough.
saying.
No, but what
I
I'm
wish
saying
I had
is-
15.
I hear you, but what I'm saying
I got 10 siblings myself.
You cannot begrudge a footballer. He's maximising his talent.
Agreed.
And listen, he has this tale about, well, not tale, what he said about his family. I'm sure that's true. And why wouldn't he provide for them? Having said that, there's a way of doing these things. And the way he went about it, Gordon more so. But even him, to put that out there, it just doesn't reflect well on
Look at Sadio Mane. Now, obviously, it's on a bigger scale because he was earning a lot already. But there was a lot of talk about whether or not he should be earning more based on how important he was to Liverpool. And he probably felt he should be earning more, hence he made the move to Bayern. And Salah was the one who got the big contract. He was donating so much back home. And people were saying, look how much he's giving. Of course, he wants a big contract. But at no point during all those negotiations or whatever did he down tools. He was the hardest working player of the team every single week. So as you said, I don't begrudge him wanting bigger wages or demanding or knowing his value, but there's a way to go about it. And
am I living in too much of a perfect world in my head where I think, see everything Caicedo said in that statement or everything Anthony Gordon might have felt, does the message not get through to the people above by saying this behind closed doors? You know, can Caicedo not say to, is Tony Bloom, is that the guy at Brighton, can he not say to him, look what I'm being paid here, look what I'd be paid there, look at the opportunity, look at already what you'd be getting out of me, you know, please, if there's any way you can do this deal, please do.
But
does that need to be said in public?
You're absolutely right, James, but you know what happened? The agent got involved and
It's a
fought.
new
Apparently
agent,
he's switched agents
they
recently.
hired this month.
It was
got rid of his old agent.
terrible
He's been
advising.
ill-advised.
It's completely ill-advised by his agency to go and do that. And I read the post, and I understand. You know, he comes from a very big family, wants to support the family. I get that, but at the same time, you are in a contract with a club, and you've only played 26 games for that club. You were bought for £4.5 million. Yeah, okay, I understand. You know, 15 grand a week. I wouldn't knock it. I'd love it, but obviously in the football realm, it's not that much money. However, if I was Tony Bloom and if I was Brighton, as I said earlier, there's no way I'm letting you go, because Brighton could get European football. They're playing fantastic football. They've been one of the best teams to watch in the Premier League. They've already let Trossard go. If I'm them, there's no way that I'm letting him go. And if this was an Arsenal perspective, you'd be saying, no way you're going. No way.
I understand everyone's position in this. You know, I understand Arsenal making the bids and you know, some people are saying Arsenal unsettled the player. Come on, Arsenal have every right to try and sign the player. I understand Caicedo wanting to leave and the reasons why, and I totally understand Brighton, you know, for standing firm, especially this late in the window. I just wonder whether, again, it could have just been dealt with more behind closed doors, and therefore the reintegration can be a little bit simpler.
Probably,
maybe Brighton could have said, with all the rumours, we're just going to keep him away.
That's where his agent has done that wrong. And also,
No, but
he's 21 years old. He's going to have so many
the agent's done that deliberately to try and
force it,
force the move through, and that's why. And I will repeat, the Brighton hierarchy, as soon as they saw that, they thought, you know what, you're not going nowhere.
I tell you who's absolutely come out of this, the best is DOHERTY. I have so much respect for him. He said after and before the Liverpool game, he said, look, people make mistakes. He's a good guy. He's taken some time. We really look forward to welcoming him back. And if he goes, we're fine to move on.
Yeah.
Like, it was just the perfect, we're good. And if he wants us to, and if he's still going to be with us, we welcome him back, and I really respect that. They're going places with DOHERTY, honestly. I really believe
I don't think he will have any issue reintegrating himself back into the team. I think the players would understand. They'll probably think, well, if Arsenal are in for me, I'll probably do the same thing. Like, they're probably thinking that. It's just the fans who, that might take a couple of games for them to warm back up to.
I will say one thing that Brighton might have got wrong in this, and I've been very complimentary of Brighton and there with DOHERTY and Tony Bloom and everyone. The one thing is that Will they regret not taking the 70 million? The only reason I say it is, I know that they're on for European football, they're having this amazing season, but there's no guarantee, as you mentioned, 19 games still to go. You know, there's still a long stretch, and a club like Brighton haven't, since being in the Premier League, been brilliant over 38 games. And then you've got the added, look at Anthony Gordon. Didn't go for 60, 65 million the summer when Chelsea wanted him. Has now gone for 45. There's no guarantee that Caicedo's value is retained, let alone going up.
But they don't need it to go up at the moment. They've only had him for such a short amount of time. They don't need to sell him, and
Fair
historically,
enough,
look at the players, after 1 or 2 seasons at Brighton, everyone comes in and buys them. Kukurea, Basuma, Trossard, Ben White, there was another one I'm thinking of. Dan Burn. They have a very good track record. So even if it doesn't go up to 70 million, Brighton are very, very smart in the way that they do business. And then they go and bring someone in for £1 million from Sweden or something like that.
I honestly think that Brighton may have been tempted to take the money, but I think the way the situation unfolded, I think that they took a decision and thought, you know what, we're not going to let the likes of Arsenal or even our own players bully us into moves. You will go when we feel it's appropriate for you to go.
They made the decision for the club, and it's
so I think that was a statement that they made.
I think he'll go in the summer.
Yeah,
as long as no major injury.
Well, we'll see if he has another good half. Right, let's get on to some super chats. Han says J5, I assume he's talking about Jorginho, doesn't offer any ability to stop counters like Mo. We need a destroyer to cover Partey. How does J5 help us at all with that? 40 side said Arsenal have proved. I think he means proved. Arsenal have proved the quality of the bench significantly improved. Arsenal have improved the quality of the bench significantly and have added experience to a young squad, a very good window. Marshall Bright said J5 will thrive in our system. We need to calm down. London Nomad said I don't think most Arsenal fans are upset or nervous, just very underwhelmed. Edu should hijack the SABITZER loan from United to further bolster the midfield.
Looks like that's
Chelsea might.
Let's just round off on the whole Arsenal Brighton Caicedo stuff by just having a look at Arsenal's dealings this window. So Leandro Trossard was the first bit of business after they missed out on Mudryk, £27 million from Brighton. I tell you what, he looked really good at the Etihad. Jakub Kiwior, have absolutely nowhere, came in from Spezia for 20 million as well. Again, a left-footed 22-year-old centre-back, did well at the World Cup for Poland. People are very excited about him. Lewandowski spoke in glowing terms about him, and now Jorginho's come in for 12 million from Chelsea as well. So that's about a 50 million. My mental maths is absolutely horrendous. That is about a 50 million spend or whatever. Was that?
It's about 60 million.
Yeah, you know what? I get into a panic and then I can't count.
That's all right. I'm an accountant. I'll do the.
Well, thank you very much. Leaving the club though, Brooke Norton-Cuffy has gone to Coventry on loan. Miguel Aziz has gone to Wigan on loan. I believe they were on other loans before, and now they've just switched club. Harry Clark has gone to Ipswich, undisclosed fee. Marquinhos has gone to Norwich. As an Arsenal fan, I'm very keen to keep an eye on that one. I like Marquinhos. I think there's a potential there, and I think Norwich and the Championship's a good move for him. Rekik has gone to Wigan on loan as well to join Miguel Aziz. Tom Smith to Colchester on loan, and we know that Cedric is about to be confirmed as well as a Fulham player.
And Lokonga, has he not gone to Palace?
And Lokonga, which isn't confirmed yet here, but you're absolutely right. Lokonga
now, that is the one that I'm really interested to see how that goes, because he's gone to another Premier League club, a very good club, and I do think he'll get an opportunity there to play. It's a bit of a mystery, isn't it, James, with the old Sambi Lokonga, because he came with such a good reputation. People like none other than Vincent Kompany was highly touting this guy and saying that, comparing him to Yaya Toure, and, he's a Belgian international at the time, and for whatever reason, it's not quite worked out at Arsenal.
So far.
But I'll be interested to see how he goes at Palace, and I really hope he does well, actually.
With Lokonga, I feel a bit sorry for him. He came in, was played as a six because Partey was injured at the start of last season. He actually did okay. I thought he looked really bright. I thought during those 3 games where we lost all 3 and looked terrible, I thought he looked like a bright spark and a really good find for Arsenal. Then he sort of got a few minutes alongside Partey, and I think that's where we saw the best of Lokonga. And then he's always been played as a six until Arteta towards the end of last season went, it's just going to have to be El Neni. We need experience. Lokonga didn't get as much game time this season. We've seen him more as an 8 in that Xhaka position, and he's not really blown anyone away. He struggled a little bit, but I think this is a good move. I think Palace needed a player like Lokonga. They've got Doucouré, they've got Schlupp who can play in midfield, they've got other players like Eze and Elise Ham just to drop into midfield to help. I think Lokonga is a good fit for them.
I'd also say having Patrick Vieira as your coach for Lokonga is a very big bonus, and I think that's smart again by Arsenal, giving him to someone of Patrick Vieira's stature, who better to learn from really than Patrick Vieira.
Excellent point.
Let's talk PSG. And we're not alone. We've got Stu joining us as well. So let's get our headphones on.
Yeah, I need to get off this Arsenal chat. It's honestly.
But thank you for defending the club.
I've done it too much. We need to move on.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh no, you're very
Good to see you guys.
Hello.
Hey Stu, how you doing?
Can you hear me well?
We can hear you perfectly. Just getting these headphones on nice and comfortably. Plenty to talk about, Stu. On the PSG side, first let's talk about Navas. He's heading to Nottingham Forest, it looks like. How's he been as a servant to you? Of course, you brought in the Italian goalkeeper who's completely slipped my name, and I can't believe that I've completely forgotten the name. Donnarumma. I'm literally wearing.
James, you have an Italian tracksuit as well.
It's shocking. You know what? It's the stress of hosting. I'm fumbling my lines. But talk to us about Navas and how you think he'll do for Forest.
First of all, if he's going on a loan, that's the first thing. We're not transferring him properly. But you know what? For me, he's been doing great considering the fact that he has this recurring injury, back injury. That's why he's not starting for us. He's getting old as well, but again, he's still a quality, experienced keeper. Hopefully, will do well for Nottingham Forest. But he's getting old, man. He's getting old. That's why we did not play him that much. And again, for me, I feel a little bit because he's been really helpful and he's one of the legend as a keeper of the club. He helped us a lot during the Champions League as well. And our third keeper, Nottingham Forest, were interested in our third keeper as well. If it did not work with Navas, our third keeper is called Sergio Rico. He's all right as well. Will become our second keeper. But again, the experience of Navas will be missed, especially in the Champions League. So let's see how it goes.
I think he's a player that's always had the appreciation he deserves because, won Champions League with Real Madrid, went to PSG, but for some reason there's always been like a happiness to upgrade or replay. Is that, look, I'm sort of watching from a distance, but I just wonder whether he's always had the credit he deserves.
Again, it's slightly more complicated than this. I remember back in the days, I was sporting director named Leonardo. He had some personal issues with Keylor Navas. That's why he brought Donnarumma as well. Again, Donnarumma is the future of the club. He's a quality player, even if his footwork is a bit terrible and scary. But again, there's room for improvement. He's an amazing keeper. But to have Navas as a safety net, especially during the Champions League, is always useful. So I will personally miss him. But for Forest, I think it will be fine. But they need to expect him to be injured and not at his full potential, unfortunately.
Hello. I was going to ask you actually about PSG in this transfer window. Hi. And what you kind of thought about your club in this window. Have you been happy with any business that you guys have done?
Not really happy because, to be fair, if you ask me the question, I would probably bench the whole starting 11 at the moment. And our defense is definitely our weakness.
Mbappe on loan.
And Mbappe on loan at Arsenal, Laurie. Yeah, you wish, you wish. No, but even Mbappe, he's a bit lazy these days. You can definitely tell that Messi he's been now he's completed football. He's back, but he's not really involved. So no, again, we were about to sign this defender from Inter Milan called Skriniar. We've been working on this signing for about a year now, and unfortunately, PSG suggested around 10 million, but they expected 20 to accept the offer. But the player said yes to PSG, and he will join the club in June on a free transfer, and it's been confirmed. Everything's been confirmed, so it's a good operation for us. But still, we needed him during this transfer window to reinforce our defense. Sergio Ramos is I don't know what is he doing here. Marquinhos is really weak as well. So again, Zyiech is almost concerned.
Are you worried?
I'm worried about what? The Champions League?
Yeah, Bayern Munich. Obviously, they signed.
100%, man. Look, they have Cancelo now. Look at the back four. Like they have Alphonso Davies.
Because of course you haven't got many players, have you?
Cancelo. No, Laurie, look at our bench. Laurie, our starting 11 is fine on paper, but the bench is a bit weak.
Is it true,
what we needed,
Stuart? Is there any truth to the rumour that you've changed the name so that G, instead of being called Paris Saint-Germain, is now Paris Saint-Galacticos? Is that right?
Apparently they changed it to the
Paris
A, actually. Paris
Saint-Galacticos,
Saint-Germain
right?
Avengers, Avengers.
Paris Saint Galacticos. You got 2 million, man. Offload a few.
No, but that's the problem, Laurie. That's the problem. When you have too many egos, the team is not working properly as a team. And we are, us fans, quite fed up about this, and we expected this transfer window to sort that out. Zyiech, 29, again, great connection with Hakimi. I don't know if you can still hear me though, but it's almost confirmed. Almost confirmed.
What about the Ziyech signing?
Say again?
How do you feel about the Ziyech signing?
Again, he had an amazing World Cup. He has a great connection with Hakimi on the right hand side. Fully Moroccan right side at PSG. 29. His stats are not that good in the Premier League, to be fair, and he's a skillful, talented player who knows how to play in small spaces, you know. And we have loads of profiles like this already. That's not really the type of profile that we need. But he's replacing Sarabia that signed for Wolves.
Yeah.
Thank God he left the club. Thank God. He was terrible. He was awful. So everything is better than Sarabia anyway. So I'm happy with Ziyech replacing Sarabia.
Yeah, fair enough. I want to just, on that Skriniar thing, it's very interesting because my cousin is a big Inter Milan fan, and even they're slightly, I say they, I mean, it's his opinion, but I'm sort of taking it as the Inter Milan fans' opinion a little bit, but even they're fed up of that whole saga.
I mean, Tottenham were trying to buy him when Jose was there. This is Skriniar's been looking for a move for about 2-3 seasons now.
And now
his wife stopped the deal last summer. She was not keen on moving to Paris, apparently. So she wanted to stay in Milan. It's another capital of fashion as well. You know, we either say it's either Paris or Milan.
Don't forget London, mate.
Come on.
I'd much rather be in Milan or Paris. Milan.
But yeah, apparently the wife was kind of blocking the deal. They found a solution, but I know he's keen on leaving Inter Milan for quite a while now. But yeah, he said yes. He's going to join in June on a free transfer. Happy days. We need this for our defense.
That frees up a space for Maguire at Inter Milan.
That's a good point from Nix. But I think Maguire to Inter Milan, it's they'd have just under 2 hours to do that, so we'll see. Stu, a big thanks for jumping on. Always a pleasure to chat to you. Best of luck for the season.
Thanks for being with you guys. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Take care, mate. Cheers.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Well, with that, with the move, Ziyech leaving Chelsea, it's only right we talk about the couple players they've signed.
That Ziyech one is an interesting one, you know, because Stuart is right. He had a good World Cup, and obviously that linking up with Hakimi, that Moroccan connection, you would imagine will serve him well there. But he does seem quite a temperamental player, doesn't he? He's one of those players that never seems to smile, never looks like he's enjoying his football.
Who's Ziyech?
Yeah.
But he never looks like a problem either.
No.
He just kind of turns out. Maybe Chelsea fans says he played I think
the jury's out on that a little bit, because even in the Morocco side, I'm aware that the new manager took over shortly before. The previous manager for Morocco, him and Zyiech had fallen out. And Zyiech had announced his retirement from international football. The new guy came in and was able to bring him round and managed to get the best out of him in the World Cup. But yeah, I think with Ziyech, there's no doubt about his talent, but I think there are question marks over his tempo.
Well, he'll fit perfectly at PSG then, isn't it?
So we know Ziyech has left. Jorginho's joined Arsenal. Who have they brought in? Let's rattle off some of the names. Mikhailo Mudryk, 88.5 million from Shakhtar Donetsk. That was probably the saga of the transfer window.
Oh, without a doubt.
Benoit Badiashile from Monaco for 35 million. I have to say he's looked pretty impressive in his first couple games.
That Mudryk one was in danger of turning out as the modern day Odemwingie saga, wasn't it? The way it was going.
Yeah, he got his move. David Fofana from Molde, undisclosed fee. Andre Santos as well. João Felix on loan from Atletico Madrid. Noni Madueke from PSV for 29 million. Malo Gusto from Lyon, 26.3 million. But I do believe he's returned on loan for the rest of the season, I think.
That's
what
correct.
I've got in my notes here. And of course, they are still trying for Enzo Fernandez for a mere £120 million. Just stump up the cash. Why not?
James, can I just ask Abbi to comment on the Jed Spence?
Can we do that after?
loan to, is it Rennes?
Rennes, yeah, he's gone to Rennes.
That's quite an interesting one.
We send a lot of our players there. Joe Rodon's there, I think, as well at the minute.
I see. That's a strange one.
Aaron Ramsey, Pepe, they're at Rennes, aren't they? No? No, Nice. Sorry, Nice.
Because with Jed Spence, I must admit, a very exciting talent. I remember Arsenal came up against him in the FA Cup, and I have to admit, he tore us apart that day. And there was even talk, weren't there, James, that we might be interested in him following that game.
Who, Jed Spence? Yeah, I've got to say, he won that battle with Martinelli.
Yeah.
He did.
He's
he rocks
great.
up at Tottenham, so I'm thinking, that's a good signing for them. And then almost from the minute he got there, it just didn't work out for whatever reason.
Well, he's, I've been saying that all season. How on earth is he not starting? But look, he's not going to obviously play under Conte. Conte's not going to be there next season anyway.
But is it a case that because he wasn't Conte signing?
I think Conte made it very clear from the get-go. It's a club signing, not my signing. I mean, why
so
you
he's
would?
cutting off his nose.
Which is very Antonio Conte. But he's not going to be there next summer. So
You hope.
He won't be. They haven't even offered him a new contract. But there's no issue with him going out on loan. The poor kid's not even had barely any minutes. He's not even on the bench most times. I'd rather him go on loan and play. I would have actually preferred him to be playing somewhere in the Premier League.
I was going to say that.
But again,
I
Tottenham never seem to do this. It's really weird. They never do that.
No, but I've got a theory on that. I think that Spurs would have received a number of offers from him. Because I know for a fact, I don't know for a fact. But,
for Jed Spence, it's been said they had.
We work with a Forest fan, don't we, James? And he was saying that they would take him back in a heartbeat.
It's been said a lot.
I think that Conte didn't want to face possible embarrassment of Jed Spence rocking up at a Premier League club, doing bits, and then he would have to answer as to why he.
Well, probably, but do you know what? All those questions are going to not be answered anyway because once he goes at the end of the season. I'm just happy he's going to go and get to play football. I'm glad there's absolutely no buy option. There's no interest in that. He'll come back next season. Whoever's in charge, I have no doubt that Jed Spence will be. Well, I guess he'll be fighting it out with Pedro Porro.
We'll definitely
talk about
delve
Spurs in
into
depth
Tottenham
later.
very soon because it has been probably we said Mudryk was the biggest transfer saga. I think Porro's been the longest. It is definitely dragged on. Some other news regarding Chelsea. West Brom have reached an agreement for Amari Hutchinson on loan. We know he joined Chelsea after leaving Arsenal. Hector Bellerin has joined Sporting as well. That is the replacement for Pedro Porro. Chelsea, these signings. I've been quite blunt in saying that I've got a little bit of an agenda against Chelsea. Look, it's all in good fun to a degree, but I just, we were all on the Saturday Football Show, and I just said that I don't understand squad building with this level of investment, this level of what feels like a scattergun approach. However, I have also said I'm open to the idea that if they offload a lot of players, now we've seen the changes to FFP, Todd Bowley might just be trying to take advantage of it in the short term, give Potter what he needs now, and then give them a shorter, Arsenal's process, I'm so happy with where we are, it's taken 3 years to get to a point where we have a very serious competitive team. He might want it to take 6 months. So he's saying, I'll give you everyone now. It feels to me like there's a disconnect between maybe what Potter wants and what he wants. Why? I don't know. It's just an opinion.
One that I share.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm glad you share it because they don't make a lot of sense. I question why you'd sign a player who has said very publicly that he wants to join Arsenal, basically. And then when things go wrong, if they're not, doing everything and bleeding blue and fighting for the shirt, you might wonder why. All I'm saying is these signings could be brilliant for Chelsea. And profile-wise, you can see why they're excited about every single signing. But I'm very sceptical about whether it's going to work. And it kind of has to. I don't think this can just be a transition 5-6 months for Chelsea.
I think
they've got to have a very competitive next 5-6 months for the money they've spent. Am I being harsh?
Slightly, but I hear you.
I did admit an agenda.
I hear you because nobody's done it like this before. So I guess the first question is, what are you doing it for? Is this to get into the top 4 now? Or is this to, challenge for the league next season or the season after? Those are the questions that, I guess, because we haven't seen this kind of level of investment. An Arsenal one, or you can see, this has been done before. Liverpool maybe done something similar, or Spurs, but we're trying to do something similar, etc., etc. So it's interesting to see the fallout from this. I don't expect Chelsea. I expect Chelsea to improve. They've been so bad this season that I'm gonna be honest. Even if they didn't make these signings, it would have been hard to be worse than they've already been. No, it was just an honest truth.
To be fair though, they have suffered quite a few significant injuries.
Get some players back. So even without the signings, the point I'm making, they would have probably got better when they get some injured players back on the pitch. But I think when you make this number of signings, I think you kind of just have to watch and see how it plays out. There's no history of how this should look when you make X amount of signings in one January, how it should look. However, there is history on Chelsea making these amount of signings in a summer and it not working. So if you want to take it at the start of the season where you should be able to implement it easier because you have the pre-season and then you have the whole season to try and make it work, and at the end of the season you're maybe end up sacking the manager halfway through, you start questioning whether or not it can work. I don't expect massive improvement from Chelsea in terms of getting to the top 4. Yeah, they should finish top 6 anyway, just being who they are and the players that they've got. But when you look at, yes, they've signed this amount of players in January, but and people talk about a scattergun approach. For me, the scattergun approach was in the summer, where they sign a bunch of players that you're thinking, I don't know what the plan is, where they're going to play, how they're going to play, and then you sack the manager a few weeks later after the transfer window was closed to bring in someone who he probably doesn't want these players. So they've kind of used this January as a summer, which means that you kind of have to give Potter 12 months at least. You have to give him the rest of the season and until at least to Christmas, where you would have at the start of the season given the whole summer, the whole season to make it work. If Chelsea fans are expecting massive, we're going to win the Premier League and we're going to close down 10 points on Man United, I would just temper those expectations. But I think it's just a very interesting project to kind of see how it works out more than anything.
I think it's definitely a scattergun approach, and I honestly think that Chelsea have accumulated all these players. And I think that the scattergun and where that comes in is that say they sign 10 players, they're hoping that 3 or 4
five work.
Yeah. And then the others,
but the reason why I say it's not scattergun, because there's a plan in terms of they're all young players they're going to sign. It's not like some of them old, some of them young, a mixture. They've obviously said, well, there's a bunch of positions, and maybe at the start of the window, people say we need a midfielder, and they wait until the end of the window to go for this midfielder in Enzo Fernandez. But there's obviously a plan in terms of, all right, we're going to just go build a young squad, a young team, and with a manager who we've got a project for, and allow them to grow together. And I think that's why I wouldn't say it's a scattergun, because there's a plan. Maybe a scattergun in terms of the targets. Oh, Arsenal's after Mudryk, let's go for Mudryk. That kind of process.
No, they would have, to be fair though, they would have heard what Arsenal heard, which is that Mudryk is a top quality player. So them going after him and getting him, I think that was a big coup for them, to be honest. I'm going to admit that. Likewise with João Felix and with Enzo Fernandez. So there's a few of those signings, man, that I think, to me, look like can't miss signings. It's some of the other peripheral ones that they've signed that you're not so sure about, hence the scattergun approach. But it kind of pains me to say this, but I'm going to say I definitely think that Chelsea will be back up there next season.
I mean, they have to be with the amount of money they've spent and the players they've brought. Also, you're forgetting about Nkunku.
They will be there or thereabouts.
Nkunku, who's still on loan. There's another one as well, I think, that's also not even joined yet. Yeah. But look, it's a very interesting mix that you've got at Chelsea, because you've got a manager who, like Graham Potter, who's been very cautious and always had, done things within a tight budget, but also always, overachieved in terms of the players he's brought into his time at Brighton, and done really well with them. And this is something completely different. He's now got an endless budget. It's literally like winning the lottery, going from living with nothing to then having everything you want. And he's got all these players, and I think it's going to be a real interesting test for him. I've always said there's no way that Chelsea fans were saying he might be sacked by the end of the season. I was like, there's no way. This is a 5.5-year deal. The amount of money that's been put into this alone, bringing all the coaching staff and everything, he's not going anywhere for a while. If we're sitting here this time next year and none of this has come to any type of fruition, I don't mean maybe challenging for a title, but back in that top 4 and being competitive, then we can have that conversation. But he was
I
never
think
going
you're
anywhere
right,
at
but
the
I think
moment.
the one thing we can say is that had it been the previous regime, it
Yeah,
would have been
of
gone
course,
already.
but we have to move on. This is not Roman anymore. You know,
No.
the only thing that's the same is they're still splashing the cash, which for a Chelsea fan is great. They've brought in so many players, and I think one of the main reasons why they've also been so poor this season as well is that they've been missing Chilwell and been missing Reece James, which is a key way to how Chelsea have always played since they kind of came into the side. So I actually, in a way, look forward to seeing how Chelsea play when they've got everyone with a non-biased hat on. It is fascinating because there's so many players. Where do you fit them all? And I've always said from the summer when they're bringing in Aubameyang and Sterling, I was like, okay, like on paper, yeah, but where is this going? And I never understood what they were trying to do. And I could say the same. I don't really understand what they're trying to do now, but they've put so much money into it. There's no way that this can't can't work.
You know where
I want to see what it looks like.
I've been the Arsenal fan that's
hope it
seen Ramsdale, White, players like that come in, and I've heard pundits or other fans go, I don't get what Arteta's doing, I don't get it. And you see it build, and you see it sort of, come together, and you understand. So I'm fully open to the idea that this might all fall into place. In Nkunku, Felix, Mudryk, there might be some stellar front three there. You've still got Sterling to bed in there. Enzo and Kovacic, but I'm open to the idea that this might all come together.
I didn't even include Enzo in that.
Exactly. That it might all just come together, and I'll go, okay, I get it now. Like, I get what he was trying to do, and what manager wouldn't be happy with this big pool of players. But at some point, I also think there's got to be a question, and this isn't. I know Chelsea fans might take this personally, but I actually do think that. I know that the transfer market's a free market, and I get that, but when you're looking across Europe, Chelsea have spent more than I think the other big 5 leagues combined have spent. That isn't good for football. And I know that Arsenal just bid 70 million for a guy who's got 26 Premier League appearances. I know, and I know that, everyone in the Premier League spends big, and I know that that's where the money is, and I know that's where the eyes are.
Let me ask you a question. Would you be saying that if they did that in the summer? If Chelsea made these signings that they've done, if they did this in the summer, would you be saying the same thing?
We're not talking about
I've ever seen
we're not
before.
talking about 200-300 million. We're talking about we're in the sixes in this.
No, but that's the season. That's for last summer and January combined.
I actually say it differently. It's not even the total amount, which is still staggering.
Yeah.
It's Enzo. We know about him for a year. 120 million.
He's played half
euros.
a good season.
It's that's where I values are so inflated now, and again,
but only in the Premier League.
Well, and also
we don't know money.
But even one of the guys today from Sky Germany was saying it. About when he was talking about Sabitzer, and he was saying, that obviously, it's not the same here. Like the money is extortionate. It's absolutely extortionate to go and to bring someone in, the money, because they know that they can, because Premier League clubs will pay it. And obviously, Chelsea set the precedents, but at the same time, Chelsea have found this loophole where you can obviously do that and sign these players on a very long contract. Some might work out, some might not work out, and then we'll see what happens with their market value. But he obviously doesn't care, Todd Bowley. He's happy to take the hit.
Well, the thing is, remember, part of the purchase is a legal binding agreement to spend 1.7 billion on the playing
You can
stuff.
do it all in one.
That's the thing. He wasn't doing it in 6 months. He's like, spend it all now. I don't have to spend anything for the rest of my time here. It's crazy.
I think if I'm a Chelsea fan as well, and I'm going to say this, I know what Abbi was saying earlier, and I do agree with her about the manager. He's not going to go for now, but I'm looking at Graham Potter, and I must admit, he does look a bit like a rabbit stuck in headlights at times.
I agree.
I'm not sure if he's the guy. I'm not saying, I just want to say this, I'm not saying he's not a good manager.
No.
But I'm looking at that Chelsea squad and I'm thinking you probably need somebody a bit more experience and a bit more knowledge at that level to manage those players. I'm not sure if Potter's the man.
A lot of Chelsea fans want us to be scared of Chelsea and jealous. And I'm like, if you had peak Jose, you just want a treble with Porter, fair enough, I might be a bit more worried.
We've got AGT joining us. Let's get his thoughts. The headphones are back on. And we'll get a Liverpool fan's perspective, on Chelsea.
All right, lads.
How you doing, Alex?
All okay, fam. How are we, kids?
Look, we're going to get your thoughts on Liverpool, but as a Liverpool fan who's probably really frustrated about the lack of business, okay, Gakpo came in early. What do you make of Chelsea? And, we were just asking that question, Will it ever get to a point where something maybe has to be done a little bit? You know, again, they're well within their rights to do whatever they want, but the spending feels excessive, the fees feel excessive. You know, at what point does football get involved? I mean, maybe they don't.
Yeah, what they're doing is pretty much the exact opposite to what Liverpool do, and they're going after anyone and everyone, whereas we clearly did have a list of targets that we were aiming at, but haven't really secured any midfielders, which was the big box to be ticked in this window. We obviously ticked the box of basically a replacement for Diaz/Jota in Gakpo, who was still to see what he's really about, but the big box did not get ticked. And what Chelsea are doing, I guess they found a loophole and they're exploiting it, which begs the question, why aren't Liverpool doing the same? If that's a way of doing business where you can stagger the payments and not necessarily, you know, break the bank, then I don't understand why we're not throwing our hat in the ring in this dodginess as well, because we can get involved if we want. But listen, with an hour and a half to go, clearly we're not going to sign anyone, so we're relying on the same old names to get us through to maybe a top 6 finish.
So why haven't you signed anyone? I mean, look, I've watched the Monday morning show as well. You know, there was some really good debate between you all around, you know, Klopp and the ownership and all that. But it does feel strange that
he's calmer now.
No, fair enough. No, but I get it. You know, for a long time, Arsenal, I felt, were failing us as fans, and you know, it gets frustrating. And then you're looking around, who are we pointing to? Where's it going wrong? The one thing I would ask you though is, 38 million or so did get spent this window, and it was on a forward. So where has that either gone right, if you think it was right, or wrong, if it feels like a misallocation of resources? What's your thoughts on it, really, reflecting on it now?
Going back to my point there was maybe a small box of let's get a replacement forward, and a massive box, a big glaring box that you could not miss right in front of you in A3 paper saying buy a midfielder, and we just haven't ticked that box. Now, it's not, and this is the point I was trying to make yesterday, was that Klopp isn't necessarily against dipping into the market, finding someone that we've been looking at for a while and making that needed replacement. But his key words were that unless it's the right player at the right price at the right time, then we won't. So you can guarantee we've definitely approached clubs. We've definitely inquired about players. Don't forget, we were involved in Enzo Fernandez. So, you know, again, we probably shouldn't have been in that race, but we got Gakpo, one for the future. I'm still very confident in him that he will turn good, as well as Nunez a bit more. But at the minute, we're looking light in midfield. Now, numbers-wise, you've got Milner, Keita, Ox still can play there, Hendo, Thiago, Bajcetic, Jones. I'm probably missing out Fabinho, who's been...
Maybe, yeah.
So you've got about 8 or 9 names there, really, but the legs that we need and what we're overly exposing ourselves to against teams is that lack of anything in midfield, really, which again exposes the defence more, and people ask more questions about Van Dijk or Matip or Gomez. And look what happened at the weekend. Again, easy goals for them to score, really. I mean, one was a deflection, but how Gomez didn't work out. I mean, Danny Welbeck scored that exact goal against him about 10 days before. So I don't understand the I don't know. And Konate and Fabinho are marking each other. So it's just a mess. So to add to that, we need defenders as well. But it looks like Nat Phillips, due to the injury today of Konate, is now going to stay, which is a little bit unfair on him, because he needs to kickstart his career, really, and play week in, week out somewhere. And bless him. I mean, it's not a bad job, is it? But he's covering the defenders again, because Konate's now probably out for the Madrid first game. And obviously Van Dijk probably will be as well. So we're looking at a centre-back pairing of Gomez and Matip or potentially Nat Phillips to face up against Benzema and the rest. So I can't believe we haven't bought someone else, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alex, how you doing, bro? Quick question for you. I know we've spoken about this off air, but you know, I've got to ask you in front of the audience. So
keep it clean, Laurie. Yeah, keep it clean.
I'll try and keep it clean. It is clean. So listen, it's looking like you're not going to sign anybody in this window. I think it's also fair to say that you're not having the best of seasons. If, as expected, you don't finish in the top 4, or maybe not even in the top 6, So it's not going that well for Klopp. Do you think at the end of the season he might look at that situation and think, you know what, my work is done here, it might be time for me to move on? What's your thoughts on
He
that?
hates that question.
Now, I'm not asking you what you want to happen. I'm
disrespectful
saying,
to
is there a
Dom Corleone.
realistic possibility that
Great t-shirt.
he might be tempted away? You might look at it and
On
think,
sale
you know
now,
what?
by the way, the Cop TV Shopify, 20% off with the Cop TV code.
Plug it.
And my answer to that, Laurie, is
Your
must
answer to
know
that
me
is you
well.
don't want him to know, don't want him to go, clearly. But do you think there's a
Another lie,
possibility
brother,
that
here we go. Listen, he's got a contract until 2026. It's very simple. It's very simple. Let's not forget as well, he did finish 7th with Liverpool once before, and then the next season we did get back into the Champions League. So his record with Liverpool of finishing outside the top 4, which is quite rare that he does that, he always manages to pick us back up. And I was trying to say yesterday as well, it's not Klopp. If we change manager, let's just speak hypothetically. Let's say we brought in Tommy Tuchel tomorrow. Do you genuinely think with the same group of players, and this is to everyone, that he instantly turns around results, morale, energy, and we go on a crazy run? Do you actually believe that?
Alex, with respect, that was not the question I asked. The question was, do you think Klopp might be tempted away? I'm not saying you get rid of him. I think it'd be silly
that's
to do
my
that.
answer, no.
Okay.
Let me answer the question in terms of the Tuchel one, because I think it's an interesting one. I was having this debate in one of the group chats today, and obviously I think Klopp is a better manager and Tuchel is one of the best in the world. Tuchel's one of the best in the world as well, to be fair. I do think that the current Liverpool side may do better this season with someone like Tuchel, who might be a bit more pragmatic. He might just say, you know what, these players can't do X, Y, Z. So I'm going to say, let's drop a bit deeper. Let's be a bit more pragmatic. Let's get a 1-0, a 2-1, those little results, because that's all they can do. Whereas Klopp, and maybe it's in his DNA. He's here to win in his way, and he wants the players to play this way consistently. He done it from the moment he came in the first game against Spurs, right up until today. Even at the time when you had, for example, defenders out all season, and people are like, why is your defensive line so high? Nat Phillips and Reece Williams can't run, but he stuck to his philosophy. And in the end, of course, you got those players back, you got into the top 4. These players can't do what they've been doing for the last 6-7 years. Yet Klopp is persisting generally with his philosophy, which at the moment is to the detriment of the team. And in the long run, if you get players in, it may be to the benefit of the team. So I think in the current iteration of Liverpool, a more pragmatic manager could do better. That doesn't mean you should get rid of Klopp, because I think another manager ain't going to reach the heights that he could with Liverpool, but they could bring a steadier ship. Challenge for top 4, but not really challenge for the league title, because ultimately it comes down to recruitment, it comes down to investment.
And we don't want that. And that's very well said, by the way. That's a very good answer, to be fair to you. I agree with pretty much all of it. I mean, if you ask the players and Liverpool fans, and I say the real fans, would they ever want Klopp to be succeeded by someone within the next 3 years? I guarantee 99% would say no. We're backing him 100%. Like his methods do eventually work when he kind of rotates with new names. So he'd be silly to leave at the end of this year, because if we're led to believe what we're hearing, that is the summer that we go or try and go big for Jude Bellingham. That is the summer that we definitely do get some midfielders in, and more importantly, some out. So is
this based on new owners?
Summer for us, and he'd be silly to walk away from that project. But I know he wouldn't anyway. He's under contract, so I think he'll stay.
Is this based on getting new owners, or under the current ownership you're still expecting?
This would be with new owners. Okay. Definitely not. I mean, again, it would be a long fight to get exactly who we want with FSG. Whereas, I mean, I did a podcast this morning on the COP TV, and we kind of, as fans, want a little bit of an update about what's going on with the ownership, because 2 weeks ago we were seeing Salah having a secret meeting in London with the QIA guys in Qatar, and then it's all gone a bit quiet, and then FSG come out and say that it's only a minority, which I don't think benefits any party really. I mean, business wise, they get to keep an ever-growing asset, if they do sell minority, but if it is majority, they can still get. I mean, let's not forget they paid 300 for the club in 2010. They could, I think, get 4 billion, which would be a massive return on investment. So I know they're having difficulties in their other sports franchises as well at the minute, but I think if we get new owners in totally, that's a lot of a better situation for us going into what is the most important summer transfer window in Liverpool's recent history.
Yeah, Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you as always.
As always.
Yeah,
Didn't get to speak to you, Abbi.
I know, it's okay. We did all the talking yesterday. I'll probably see you later in the week anyway.
Go check out that Twitter clip on DR Sports, by the way. AG2,
and then go to the Cop TV after that.
Go to the Cop TV. Always a pleasure, mate. Speak soon.
Bye.
It's fair to say that with the ownership issues at Liverpool, they've had a bit of a slightly underwhelming window in terms of investment. Okay, Gakpo came in. And Man United, I think, similarly. Okay, I mean, we're going to talk about Sabitzer in a sec. We're going to talk about Weghorst and the window you've had. But again, 2 loans. And what's the overarching theme? There's potentially new owners to come. So we'll explore that in a little bit. Before we do, stick with Man United. We've got some clips of Ten Hag's press conference ahead of that EFL Cup semi-final, although it does look like a done deal for United. But you never know in football. Here is his thoughts ahead of the game.
Everyone, welcome to our press conference for our tomorrow. First section in Belgrade for 12:30 p.m. We'll start with Simon Finch.
Hi Eric.
Hi, Sam.
Obviously we've just seen the statement about Christian Eriksen's injury. How is he mentally? How are you guys? I mean, it's a huge blow.
Of course, he's disappointed about. We are disappointed about, but yeah, that's happened in top football, and it shouldn't have happened, but yeah, it did, and yeah, you have to deal with it.
He's obviously been a very important player for you since he's arrived. Do you believe you have enough depth to cover him in the squad, or is it, as it's deadline day, could you move in the market to replace him?
As you said, something coming out on deadline day, then it's difficult, and you can't make policy on such bad injuries. But we have players in the midfield department, and good players. We also we have players who can fill that gap.
I mean, in terms of filling that gap, how do you do that? Because you don't seem to have someone who can come in and do exactly what Christian's done in terms of controlling games. That has been one of the major reasons why Manchester United have been so much better this season than last.
Yeah. But I think you can never feel that because every player has his own characteristics and identity. So another player will always fill it in a different way. But that doesn't mean that you have to be less successful. But it's quite clear that Christian Eriksen, that is for our squad, this brings top quality, and especially he has some specifics what is hard to replace. And for instance, his impact in the final third, final ball.
People might look at the fact that Fred, for instance, scored on Saturday, whenever it was, and also he plays very well with Casemiro for the Brazilian national team. He's a big personality. Is he the type of player who can come in and take authority and maybe raise his game to a level that supporters have not seen?
But I think you mentioned already in your first sentence. He's playing together with Casemiro in Brazilian squad. I would say that's not the worst squad in the world, and they have so many choices what they can make, but they often prefer to play them together. So that tells something about the quality Fred has and what he can contribute to the team, and that he did it all several times. When I see his performance, for instance, against Tottenham Hotspur, for instance against Manchester City, when he's coming on last game, straight score a goal. So he has a lot of qualities, and I think they are a really good combination, Casemiro and Fred.
If incomings are unlikely at this point, Eric, in the window, what about outgoings? Thinking of the likes of Anthony Elanga, Facundo Pellistri, Brandon Williams. Could any of those leave before the deadline tonight?
Yeah, could be, but it depends on certain circumstances.
Would that only be on loan for the rest of the season if anything was?
If so, that would be likely. That would be loans. Yeah.
And when you see what the likes of Chelsea are doing in this window, how does that impact the balance in the Premier League, spending so much money at this stage of the season?
I can't talk for other clubs, and I'm talking for our club. And we have a strategy, and we keep the strategy where we want to go, and we want to restore Manchester United where they belong, and we are in a good direction. And so also it has to match our financial frames. And so we started in the season, and now we keep consistent to that plan and to the strategy. And I think we're developing as a club, we're developing as a squad in a way of play. I think you see also the results in that process. So we make the right progress. So we have to keep the process going and keep improving every day.
Hi Eric.
Hi.
Aaron Wan-Bissaka's been in lovely form recently. We've seen him play more higher at the pitch and more inverted. How impressed have you been with his performance? And is that more what you're expecting from the fullbacks? And lastly, in terms of in the last game we saw Wild Weghorst, new player that's been brought in, expecting to play more direct into him. We saw Facundo play excellent cross into him. We expect to see that next phase of our football.
Yes, definitely. I think Aaron, he was so
amazing what him.
One of the funniest people I know, actually.
Oh, comfortably, yeah.
Just seeing him makes me smile.
He
he's just such a fun
runs
guy.
a hate along on his channel.
I love him. So funny.
He runs hate along.
I saw that.
And the slogan is a safe place for rival fans to hate. Can you believe it?
He's just too.
Anyway.
He's also multi-talented, isn't he? He does a little bit of everything.
Bit of everything.
Acting.
We all love you, KG.
We do.
Well done to KG.
We love
United
KG.
do. But there is a load. They cut him off. Oh well, because we've teased it, and now you go to United View to watch.
Check
See,
it
that's how
out.
good we are. Now, load of news to talk about here. First and foremost, Bruno Guimaraes has just been sent off in the Newcastle-Southampton game, which means he is out of the EFL Cup final.
We think.
I'm not sure because it's dangerous play.
Yeah.
So
That's
it
a
should be
straight
an
red.
automatic 3-match ban.
Yeah.
And because it's dangerous play, it may carry across all domestic competition. If it was a accumulation of yellow cards, I think it would be in the competition.
I mean, he was crying.
I
as
know,
he was
but
walking
maybe
off
he
there.
don't. And that's why I need to check the rules. I'm
Yeah,
not going to
but
get too excited.
if
But if he's out of that final,
we'll get a fact.
confirmation.
Am I right in thinking
awful?
you're not
tackle,
allowed
by
to
the way.
appeal those?
You can't.
Or is that
appeal.
violent?
No,
you can appeal. You can
Yeah,
appeal.
but you can't appeal that.
Appeal double yellow.
Yellows, yeah, you can't appeal
Oh, I
yellow.
see.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was a red card.
Based on
Do
the
not
evidence,
bother
you can't-
appealing this one.
You know
because
that.
it's stonewalled.
So he's
yeah.
going to miss the next 3 games.
Yes.
By the way, Liverpool should have had 3 red cards against Brighton as
my
well. They were all
goodness.
stonewalled as well.
Liverpool.
But they've caught this one. Another bit of breaking news coming from Adam Leventhal at The Athletic. That Everton did make a late loan offer for Watford's Ismail Assar. It's been rejected. The proposal was a loan fee with an obligation to buy if Everton stayed up, plus bonuses. I can sort of see why that's been rejected so late in the day, and also,
Yeah.
well, we'll buy him if we stay up. They're probably looking at going, well, okay.
I want to just say on Everton, like Sean Dyche, they took their time obviously confirming that. And how busy could they possibly have been on the last day? Because you're banking on whoever you're buying from, unless it's someone, I guess, like Chelsea, who've got players in bulk load. You're banking on someone finding a replacement really, really quickly. So I kind of think it's left them in a position doing it so late in the window. It actually might have hindered them even more. And obviously now they've got Anthony Gordon as well. I know Neeks is not a massive fan and was saying he hasn't done much this season. But again, it's just another body that Everton don't have.
Yep. They're in trouble, Everton. They are. I mean,
don't speak too soon.
They are in trouble. Oh, well.
we've got them on side.
That's the second
Hopefully
time this has
that new
happened.
manager bounce.
I called them trash a couple of weeks ago, realising they were our next game. I thought, oh no. But look, yeah, they are in trouble. I think Sean Dyche is a good appointment. I do. I think he'll organise them very, very quickly. I think he'll actually... if there's one manager who could get something out of a team that looks a little bare or looks a little uninspiring, with all due respect, it's probably him, because he'll just get them to work super hard. He'll give them a good shape and formation. He'll get what he can out of them.
Tough to break down.
There will be. I think it's a tough
I was
game,
actually
that's it.
amazed that they were even thinking of appointing Bielsa. Because I just thought that is a totally wrong fit for Everton. He would just.
Well, I think he thought so himself, didn't he?
Yeah,
I think there were rumours.
No,
that
but I mean, he
didn't
got as
feel
far
the
as
squad was ready
the
for him.
interview, didn't he? I mean, where they flew him over and there was this great furore.
And he had a
But I thought to
PowerPoint
myself, that
presentation.
does not work in a million years. Not at this stage where they're at. Sean Dyche is a far more practical manager for them, and I think that's a good appointment.
Well, I think for Everton, they've got to get back to the basics and
Yeah, absolutely.
relearn the basics. And to be fair, you know, whatever people think of Sean Dyche, you know, he consistently kept Burnley in the Premier League, apart from
Got them
obviously-
into Europe.
Yeah, you know, last season, maybe if they'd have stayed with him the whole season, maybe they would have stayed up. I don't know. But you know, he'd done a lot with Burnley, and I think that when you've got a club like Everton who've lost all sense of what on earth they're doing on the pitch. Sometimes you just have to go back to basics, learn how to defend again, learn how to actually just build out from the back. And I think actually it's a good signing. I'd love to know what Everton fans think of that signing. If there's any of you in the chat, if you think it's worth it for the rest of the season, having that someone who knows how to firstly be in a relegation battle as well, and can also get you out of it.
Yep, MKH31 says, James, you robbed us earlier in the season. Arsenal fans definitely can't talk. Are you a Liverpool fan? MKH, just wondering. Let me know. Let's talk Manchester United, because they did get some business done in the end. 2 loans, Wout Weghorst from Burnley, and now on the final day, Marcel Sabitzer's coming. I think that's a really good bit of business, that Sabitzer deal. I think clearly the Eriksen injury, it's how long it is. I almost think if he was out only maybe 2-3 weeks, he might have just gone through it, but out till end of April. That's pretty much out for the season. You're talking 3 more games and maybe whatever's left in Europe. How are you feeling about that signing?
Man United annoy me. Man United annoy me because we needed a midfielder when Eriksen was fit. Why would it take Eriksen getting injured until nearly the end of the season for the board to sanction us getting another midfielder? We know there's no money because we're broke. 2, they're selling the club, so they're not planning on putting any more money in. So of course, all our signings, the 2 signings that we made this winter, are loan signings. But it's just like we always knew that there was a possibility that Casemiro or Eriksen could have got injured, and in that middle they are irreplaceable. Fred comes on, does a decent job. McTominay comes on, doesn't really do a decent job. He does a job, but
fouling normally.
But why did it take the injury? Because then, and this is why I'm annoyed. Imagine we play that game tomorrow, the transfer window's closed, Eriksen's out for the rest of the season, and then we ain't got time to strengthen. The injury was always there was always a possibility that we could have got injury. I'm not thankful that Eriksen's been injured, because really truly it's 1 out, 1 in. So we're not quote unquote stronger by this signing, because Eriksen's probably going to miss the whole season. It's 1 out, 1 in.
How integral has he been to your season?
Very,
so far?
very
Really?
integral.
Okay.
And that's why Ten Hag struggles to actually take him off the pitch, because there's no one else available who can actually do what he does, even when you're looking at it like this guy's,
Arsenal.
he's flagging.
Yeah.
Like, you got to get him off. But you get him off, you know that everything's going to change.
Right.
And it's like you're trying to weigh up, Ten Hag's trying to weigh up the pros and cons of actually keeping him on or taking him off. He's very integral. But I think in terms of a replacement for what Eriksen provides, Sabitzer's a very, very good signing. When that injury happened, and also we got the news about it this morning, then they did the press conference and Ten Hag said it's unlikely we're going to make any signings. I was like, I mean, our season could collapse from here. We've got so many games in such a short period of time. We're in all 4 competitions. I thought our season could go down the pan. So to actually go out and get a player of that quality, now I know he hasn't been great at Bayern since he left Leipzig, but if we can get him back to the level that he was playing at Leipzig, and at time, the odd game here or there for Bayern, he could even be better than what Eriksen was for the first half of the season.
I know what you mean.
Because he's got good passing range,
dynamism,
and he's got the physicality. Defensively, what Eriksen doesn't have, even when he's at his physical peak, he's not that player. He's an attacking midfielder. He's playing in a double pivot or a.
He's an artisan, isn't he?
Yeah, so Sabitzer's going to get around. That's how Leipzig were playing. They were that high intensity, high pressing team under Nagelsmann, and that's why obviously Nagelsmann talking to Bayern Munich. So if we can get that level out of him. It's a loan signing, which you may try and change the option to loan. But if Eriksen, so let's say Eriksen came back early, I would hope that Eriksen's fighting for his place back in the team. If Sabitzer can.
I must say, I am impressed
signing.
with Ten Hag. I think he's come in, he's done a really good job. It's noticeable, and it's interesting because he lost his first game, didn't he?
Lost his first 2 games.
Yeah,
2-1 and then 4-0.
People's like that clown Simon Jordan on TalkSport saying after a couple of games that they didn't think he was the right man for the job, which I thought was
talking about
incredibly
the suit's too big for him.
Yeah,
he looks like a weak man, a small man in the suit.
Just jingoism in my view. But anyway, we won't mention him. But yeah, to go back to Ten Hag, I must say, from afar, I've been impressed with him, and he looks like the real deal. And I think next season they will definitely, like Chelsea, be up there. Swinging away.
I'm incredibly impressed with Ten Hag, actually. The performance at the Emirates, the way he lost Casemiro, he lost Dalot. Shaw hadn't really been playing left back that much. He'd been playing centre back, restored Martinez to the team. Anthony hadn't been in good form. Martial out. Weghorst led the line. And I felt, look at Arsenal over the 90, absolutely deserved it. But I thought that first half.
He made sure he got that in. Didn't
well, I had to. But I did think that first half, United's sort of system pressed their plan to try and stifle Arsenal was really impressive. So from a tactical perspective, watching United, I really like them. But you know what I loved about this morning, because I saw those quotes as well, and he's talking about, essentially what we do now this Eriksen injury's come through. And he just sort of, he transmitted a degree of calm, at least if not to the fans who would have thought, oh no, we need players. He did it to his players by saying, we've got players, we're okay, we'll be all right. There's very good players that can fill in. But then behind the scenes, he was working on a deal. And I love that, because it's almost like United fans can almost just go, we trust him. He didn't just sit there and go, everyone knew you needed a midfielder, even before Eriksen. And he didn't just sit there and ignore the problems. When it happened, clearly working with his team around him, went, how do we address this? He would have liked more money, I'm sure, although he had a lot in the summer. He'd like more money to spend this January. He probably would have liked a few permanent deals to really move the project along. But what he definitely got was 2 players that can do a job, and with Sabitzer more so. You two are smiling.
I want to know.
I'm laughing in my ear. I'm laughing in my ear. It was just some breaking news that Enzo to Chelsea is on, and it's a here we go.
Oh,
sorry to interrupt you.
Who saw that coming?
Sorry to interrupt you.
But no, I think.
We've also got to give Ten Hag a lot of credit with how he's dealt with Marcus Rashford as well. That has been integral to United's upsurge in form, hasn't it? I mean, at the moment, Marcus Rashford is probably one of the hottest talents in the world right now, and I dare say that I don't know how he did it. I don't know what he said to him behind the scenes or whatever. Is there an ode to this celebration from Rashford? Is that
Ten Hag had 3. Ten Hag had 3 situations to deal with, different kind of players. We had Garnacho in the summer, who in pre-season he was late to training, and basically he was therefore kind of banished from the pre-season team until he got himself together. And that's a young player coming through. And then we had the Ronaldo situation, very senior player. And then we had Rashford, who's he's a cult hero and a boyhood.
But he wasn't always a cult hero,
he wasn't. But because we got some breaking news that
we got a load of breaking news. Sorry, we're getting distracted. Okay, what an exciting final hour we have.
Go Enzo
How about
first.
this for a tweet from Fabrizio Romano? Enzo Fernandez to Chelsea. He's giving it the big here we go in
capital letters as well.
He's excited about this one, Fabrizio.
Here we go.
Agreement reached right now between Chelsea and Benfica. He says, important, clubs are running to get the document signed before the end of the window. It's finally agreed. I love the idea that this has been talked about for about 2 months. And with an hour to go, they've gone, so we're doing this, eh? Print! There's no ink in the printer.
You have to think about this deadline, because you're like, you had all day. You had all day to do this, And you finally said, all right, we'll pay it.
Yeah, but they always do it. This is just why people love January. They always do it.
It is crazy. And go on, give us your bit of breaking news.
I mean, my bit of breaking news, obviously we did mention it earlier, and we will talk about Spurs a bit later on, about Matt Doherty going to Atletico Madrid. Now, it was meant to be a loan. However, they've terminated his contract.
Spurs?
Yeah.
That feels a bit...
So, I'll read you the...
How long did he have left on his deal?
I don't
5
know.
years?
I've got no idea. Can't
Todd Bowley gave him the contract.
I don't know. The statement reads, "We have mutually agreed to the termination of Matt Doherty's contract to enable him to join another club. Signed from Wolverhampton Wanderers in August 2020, the Republic of Ireland international made 71 appearances, all in competition, scoring 3 goals. We should like to thank Matt for his service and wish him well for the future." Now, I'm a bit baffled because even Fabrizio doesn't even know this. He's saying loan deal. He's saying loan deal. Literally, this has come out of nowhere that they've terminated the deal, and it just begs the question: what can't Emerson Royale survive? What can't this guy survive?
This is.
I'll tell you why. It's very
simple. And this is us, and it's
I'll tell you why, Abby. It's very simple. Nobody wants him.
I did say that in the car actually on the way in.
Nobody wants Royale.
But this is madness.
I mean, I'm just reading some of the replies on here. I mean, everyone's going, bloody hell, this is insane, very random, but okay. Someone, this isn't right. What? I'm sorry, what? WTF? Wrong right back getting the contract terminated. I mean, look, there wasn't that much love between Spurs fans and Doherty, but I think people were just very baffled.
It's just strange. I think they appreciated he tried hard.
Yeah, he did try hard,
and that he gave what he had. But
yeah, he did.
What is strange from a purely from the transfer business side of things here is, from what we hear, the deal had been agreed for a loan to Atletico. Yeah. We've seen Trippier, who looked past it at Tottenham, go to Atletico, revive his career, now probably right back of the season.
He'll probably go to Newcastle after.
Right, and he's thinking, so was there no value out of this loan for Tottenham to gain?
I don't know what the ins and outs are, I'm sure we'll find out, but there was a tweet here, which is actually very true. He said, from starting 4 out of our 6 post-World Cup games to having his contract terminated, it's astronomically incompetent.
It is,
all round.
Yeah,
especially when he had taken over from Royale finally. Obviously, I know Pedro Porro is going to come in and that will be his place. But I'm just a little bit baffled.
Well, Nick's is the accountant, but I'm pretty sure there must be some financial motive behind him terminating
There must be. Is it from an Atletico point of view or from a Tottenham point of view?
The only thing that it might be is Atletico. I don't know if they've got a certain amount of players on loan and they can't loan, and therefore they need to purchase. I don't know.
Well, Tottenham get no money.
Tottenham won't get any money. If anything, it depends what the deal. They may even have to buy out the rest of his contract. But it may be a mutual termination where they say, all right, you can just sign for Atletico. They're going to pay you the same amount of wages. I don't know. I have no idea.
I must admit as well, of all the transfers today, I think it's fair to say that one was the one that just come out of left field. When I saw that today, no disrespect to Doherty because he's a decent player, even though he's a Spurs player, but I just did not see that coming at all. Did you, Abby? I bet you didn't, did you?
I didn't, but someone has just tweeted saying we messed up the loan rules, loaned him out, realised that we weren't actually allowed to loan him out. Do you know what? God knows.
But you know what? The loan rules have changed. And I think there's a limit to how many you can loan out.
And we've got a lot of players on loan.
Because Chelsea, obviously, there was talk. You know how Chelsea loaned out a lot of players already?
That's very hilarious.
That's what I thought. It was some kind of
final out of the transfer. Do you know what else I just liked? So we've got so much to cover here. We'll go back. We'll do a full proper discussion on Tottenham and their window. Let me read this to you, because as that was all coming through, we got the news that Enzo has finally...
I wanted to talk about Enzo.
A deal agreed. We'll discuss that in more detail. But Julian Lauren, who covers for ESPN, has just tweeted this. It's about 3.5 hours ago. But he said, it's worth reminding everyone that you can only include 3 new players in your Champions League and Europa League squad for the knockout stages. So 4 out of Felix, Mudryk, Enzo, Madueke, Badiashile, Fofana and Santos will not be involved in Europe for Chelsea. So, if we just shorten that down to the 4 big signings, Felix, Mudryk, Enzo, Madueke, says a 5th, and Badiashile, one of the 2 of those 5. Why can't I count today? 2 of those 5 won't play in Europe for Chelsea.
I think it's fair to say that Mudryk will not be one of those.
Or Enzo, 100%.
Mudryk, Felix
and Enzo.
Yeah. No. Well,
but he's ceiling.
How?
But you know what? The only thing I would need to check this is the under 21 rule. And I don't know if it's a homegrown versus that kind of thing, because if you're under a certain age, maybe you don't have to register them. But I don't know if they have to be a homegrown player to do it. So that'll be interesting. But as you said, listen, Chelsea fans, this ain't the season where these players you're not signing them now to be successful this year. It's for the future, next year, the year after, maybe with a different manager. But I mean, I was going to say they must have known that before they signed.
Who are you leaving out?
Tottenham didn't know they
couldn't loan that many players out.
Well, so what happened? They pressed the button on submit on the computer and it said it's error.
I don't know.
Manager came back to them like, no, you can't.
You can't.
That's
Too many.
hilarious.
I don't know.
And then when they found out, I thought, better
that.
terminate his contract.
Newcastle are through to the Carabao Cup final, by the way. What a season, what a journey they're having.
So
under
funny.
Eddie Howe. Unbelievable. They're through 3-1 on aggregate. They beat Southampton. They're likely to face your team, Manchester United, in the final. But you're right about that Bruno Guimaraes. We need to find out.
No, I think I found out. So he will miss the next 3 games in domestic competition. So I think that's probably going to be 2 Premier League and 1 FA Cup. They're still in the FA Cup. They're out. So it'll be the next 3 Premier League.
Right.
Fortunately for them, they've got 3 Premier League games
traditionally
before.
the League Cup or the Carabao Cup is at the end of February.
Exactly, and they've got 3 Premier League games before them. So fortunately for them, he's going to be fully rested.
Wow.
But unfortunately for them, because I think they're hitting slightly a brick wall in the Premier League in terms of creating and scoring goals, they may fall out the top 4 between now and it's going to be an opportunity for teams like Spurs to capitalise on Bruno being out for the next 3 Premier League games.
So there's so much to talk about. Okay, there's Newcastle there. Let's do Enzo. Then we'll do Tottenham. Then we'll do Newcastle. Then we'll do Man City. Get your comments and get your questions.
But you know what? On that Newcastle thing, if you put a gun to the Newcastle fans' head, what do you think they prefer? Winning their first trophy in a number of years, or qualifying for
they want a trophy?
I think trophy
because with the amount of investment they have now,
trophy.
Top 4 will come.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Trophy. Yeah,
you're right. Yeah. Okay, Enzo. Right. We talked a lot about Chelsea, but it's finally getting over the line. You've got some thoughts, Neeks?
£105 million or so is his release clause. We don't actually know the amount they've actually agreed, because obviously Chelsea didn't want to pay the lump sum release clause that she released from his contract. They wanted to spread that over a certain amount of years, and therefore they offered to pay more to be able to spread it over a certain amount of years to meet FFP. So we don't have the official, I don't think we've got the official actual cost.
No.
But how many players, these big record signings, have actually been successful in the Premier League? So I'm going to go through a few of them.
Yeah?
No, but sometimes...
Let me go through... Laurie, you can't say sometimes.
Let me qualify it by saying that sometimes success can be subjective.
But that's the discussion we're going to have. Yeah. That's the discussion we're going to have. Jack Grealish, £100 million. We'll get it.
Should we say success, failure, and then jury's out? Should we?
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is why I said it's subjective.
Well, let's
so on Grealish, jury's still out.
Failure.
Okay,
no,
Jack Grealish.
I don't agree. I think that the
jury's
at
out.
Best.
Success, failure.
I'll say jury's out. I agree with James.
Jury's out.
Failure.
Because they did win the league still with him.
Like you're going to win the league without Jorginho.
Yeah, but...
Don't try and brush that one.
I
see how you did it.
No, but hold on. I think we can all agree that he does enhance their team.
No, he doesn't. It's a failure. He has not been...
No, because you're talking about the 100 million.
No, I'm talking about Jack Grealish. Okay. He's not the player that he was at Aston Villa. Romelu Lukaku from Inter to Chelsea. 97.5 million.
That's an easy one.
I would argue the biggest failure. I don't know if you'll read anyone else on the list.
I have never rated.
I know which one.
Never rated.
She's going to have one that's bigger.
Yeah,
Paul Pogba, Juventus to Man United.
You think I hate Paul Pogba?
Yeah.
I don't. I just think he was underwhelming.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm talking about.
That's not hating him.
The minute you said
no, I'm not saying you hate him as a person. I think you just don't rate him.
I don't not rate him. I don't rate Lukaku. I can honestly say with my chest, I don't rate Lukaku. I've never rated Lukaku. Maybe when he was at Everton, I rated him. I haven't rated him since. Paul Pogba, I do rate. Yeah, but when he's had the big moves, he's I think he's collected the most transfer.
No, it's Lukaku.
Yeah.
You're
that's
talking
what I'm
about Pogba.
No, that's what I'm talking about. No, Pogba, I think he's a great player. I just think he disappointed me at United. I just didn't see it consistently enough.
So, Man United, what are we saying? Success, failure, or somewhere in between?
So I'd say
somewhere in between. I don't think it was a failure.
Yeah, I'll say somewhere in between as well.
I would say failure, actually. Although I rate him as a player.
Harry Maguire, Leicester to Man United.
Failure.
Failure, but
Resounding
not bad for
failure.
Lukaku. Like, at least he scored a couple goals.
Yeah.
At least he played more than
Yeah,
a
I'd
season.
agree. Failure.
Yeah.
Lukaku to Man United, 75 million.
I think it's a failure.
But again, he scored.
Van Dijk to Southampton, to Liverpool, 75 million.
Absolute success.
Of course.
Success.
Resounding
Is that
success.
the first resounding success?
It's the only
That's the
success
only one we've had
Yeah.
so far.
It's the only success. Sancho to Man United, jury's well out.
Jury's
I'd
out,
say
but
failure.
leaning
I
towards
would-
failure.
How can you say Jadon Sancho's a failure, but Jack Grealish? Jack Grealish walks into the best team
come on.
in the world, at least in the league,
comparing
and
Sancho-
does nothing.
Sancho hasn't even
Sancho's walked into a
done
mess. If the jury's
Yeah,
out on Jack
jury's
Grealish,
out,
the jury
fine.
has to be out on Sancho. That's just
Alright.
me. At the age as well. At
Jury's
the
out.
age.
It
Jury's out.
has to be, I think,
The age
okay,
as well.
I'll give you that, but come on now. He's done diddly squat.
The jury's out.
He can't even get himself fit in pre-season.
He's back
They've
tomorrow.
had a lot of change.
He's back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, after they've had to
Number
fly him over.
Number 8, Kai Havertz, 72
Failure.
million
Failure.
Chelsea.
But then
He scored big goals,
Yeah,
but he's
yeah,
just
failure.
overall.
Yeah, come on, man.
he is. But what scored Champions League
Yeah, it's
winning
like,
goal?
the Torres one. He
Yeah,
scored a
yeah.
goal to beat Barcelona, but let's be honest, he was a failure.
I get you, but that's like a semi-final goal. When even without that, they were going through on away goals. With the Havertz one, it actually won in the Champions
I know, but
League.
you can't.
But yeah,
I think
yeah.
overall,
Pepe to Arsenal.
flop.
Failure.
Big flop.
Failure.
Big
But
Failure.
by the
flop.
way, not as bad as everyone makes out.
It was a lot of money for not much.
72 million.
Did more than Enzo.
Kepa, number 10,
Yeah,
Kepa
flop.
to Chelsea.
Failure.
71 million.
Failure.
Yeah.
So we've had, in the top 10, we've had one success. Not even, and that's a resounding success.
Yeah, but there are others that have been successful.
No, we're talking about I'm talking about the
Biggest
transfers.
transfers.
What's the odds on Mudryk? And because they're going to fit into this top 10 now, 88 million. Enzo's 100 plus million.
I think.
What's the odds on them following the trend of 70 plus million Premier League signings being failures or underwhelming, or actually following the Van Dijk? And
But
being,
straight away, what
million?
that screams out to us is that it's so hard for somebody to realise that potential or to be that successful. It's not an easy thing to do.
I actually think what it shows you is you don't always have to spend the biggest amount of money to be successful.
I think, Trossard. Good point. Good point.
I love Trossard. I'm jealous.
But the pressure that comes with those big money signings is enormous. And so that has to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, you make a great point.
Can anyone actually fulfill 100 million? Now, of course, it's happened. Mbappe is a 200 million pound player. Granted, they ain't won the Champions League, but he's a 200 million, and he's retained that value. Like, if Real Madrid want to buy him, he's going to cost that much.
But you know what? It's interesting you should
How
say that.
hard is it to actually... Can a player be... Can Mudryk be worth 88 million? Can Enzo... What does he have to do to be...
The answer is
Van Dijk.
The answer is they...
Van Dijk.
Well, the answer is they can be, because they're very young. They've shown real potential. Enzo was, I thought, magnificent in the World Cup final. Mudryk, you watch for 5 minutes and you see there's an extremely talented player there.
Very exciting
So,
player.
if they deliver that level that they've already shown to a degree, whether it be over 5 minutes, 20 minutes, a World Cup, whatever it is, if they just maintain that for a consistent period of years, they can do it. But at the same time, the clubs need to show a degree of consistency as well, because look at Lukaku, you know, and Man United, some of those signings, changing managers, changing systems, changing environment, you know. But Van Dijk, signed by Klopp, guess what? Klopp's still there.
Yeah.
And I think that is what they need. If Potter is still at Chelsea in 2-3 years' time, I'll tell you now, Mudryk and Enzo have been successful.
If Potter's at Chelsea in 2-3 months' time, he's done a good job.
Well, there you go.
I
agree.
would frame that slightly differently, James. I think Mudryk will be successful at Chelsea in spite of Potter.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that either.
Yeah, maybe.
But
I think
the point
it's a very interesting argument, and what again I would say that what we've seen there is that it's so difficult for the player to succeed, because obviously the more money, the more pressure,
expectation.
And the Jack Grealish is a perfect example, because
Yeah.
I think he's been okay for City.
I think he's been okay.
And
But for 100 million, you need more than
okay's
okay.
not good enough. Yeah,
not for 100 million.
because of the money. Yeah,
That's what it is. Oh, and I think that's an old article. So obviously Anthony is now in that as well.
Yeah, jury's out,
80,
but he's not
85
looking
million.
great.
No, but so far,
Relax.
the narrative.
It got that 6
no,
goals.
but I think it's fair to say that a lot of people, even
The
your own
jury's out.
fans,
The jury's out.
Scholes, all them lot have said he's not with it.
The jury's out.
Let's.
I think it's more than that.
6 months.
Let's move on to Tottenham. Just some other breaking news. The Samuel Lokonga deal has been confirmed by Crystal Palace. He is gone. And that is their second signing of the day. We will go through all the Premier League sort of ins and outs at the end of the show. There's about 45, well, a little bit longer, 48 minutes left.
I must admit, that is
deadline.
one signing that I will be watching from afar with keen interest, as I'm sure you will be, James. I mean, Marquinhos as well, but in particular Sam, because he'll be in the Premier League.
Absolutely will be as well.
It'll be.
Yeah.
I really hope it goes well for the lad.
Everton apparently have also inquired about Jean-Philippe Mateta tonight from Crystal Palace. So they are doing some last
Are
minute...
they trying to go down? I'm confused what's going on over there.
Well, I can't talk.
He's a unit though, isn't he? He's a unit. Big, strong lad.
He's a handful, yeah.
And Sean Dyche over the years tends to like those types of players.
Yeah. Okay, where should we move? Look, we've dodged the subject enough. While touching on it a little bit, let's talk Tottenham.
Okay.
And I'm seeing some comments coming through. What a remarkable farce, say the Spurs Express, talking about the Matt Doherty move.
Just to give some context to that, because we've been doing a bit of digging. It's a FIFA loan limit, right? Which is apparently what it is. So, and it applies to the first team squad. So you can only have apparently a maximum of 8 players.
Okay.
So Tottenham currently have on loan from the first team out on loan Reguilon, Joe Rodon, Spence, Lo Celso, and Ndombele, Winks, Brian Gill, Harvey White. So Doherty would make 8.
No, that's 8.
No, that Doherty would make. Yeah, sorry, Doherty would make.
Doherty would make 9.
Tanganga,
Yeah.
no, Tanganga's still there. So obviously they decided to do that. Doherty only had 1 year left on his contract. He's 31 years old. Makes sense to mutually cancel the contract. There obviously can't have been much to pay off. This is an even funnier tweet.
A new manager coming in probably looks at all those loan players and goes, I'll give him a chance, you know. Lo Celso and Ndombele, Reguilon, Spence.
Can I just show you?
Brian Hill. I quite like
Atletico
Brian Hill.
Madrid have 2 fullbacks. One is Sergio Reguilon and one is Matt Doherty. Honestly, and actually, this made me laugh yesterday. So we sold Lamella. Rest his soul. I love him so much. He was such a little shit.
It was a great little Panenka
He was
against
Rabona.
But he was such an annoying player. He just gives you
I
that.
hated him.
But like, I loved him. I loved him for that.
Yeah, he's one of those players
You-
that
that
the
you
home
love to
fans
hate.
will love him.
Yeah.
Everyone else hates his gut.
We sold him to Sevilla we wanted Brian Gill.
Oh, yes, I saw this.
We gave money, I think it was 21 million plus Eric Lamella. Brian Gill is now back at Sevilla on loan for his second stint. They've also got Lamella and they've also got...
And they also got 25 million.
So that just shows you how
I saw
special Spurs
So basically,
are.
you pay them 25 million to take
You paid
Lamella.
them 25 million
to take
to take
Lamella.
Lamella.
That's it. No, that's literally what happened.
Yeah, basically.
Because you ain't got nothing.
Paid you 25 million to take Lamella. We'll take Brian Gill, but we're going to give you back
But Brian Gill,
as
so
well.
you pay them 25
So
million. Take Lamella off our hands, please. 25 million. We don't want it.
It's mad.
So are you saying you understand now the termination?
I understand why. Yeah, I mean, I think that no one really understood what was going on, but now it's been kind of broken down. We understand that. What makes me laugh though is Tottenham fans who are like making videos of like Matt Doherty, like thanks for everything. It's like you literally have ripped him apart for the past 3 seasons. Like, let's not. But it is funny that Tottenham obviously didn't realise that they had to terminate that contract. So
Yeah. Okay, I guess you had no choice, and you're going to have a load of right backs anyway. So
I guess to be fair, when they started negotiating, they only had 7. It was only when the Jed Spence was agreed that it
well,
became
I mean,
8.
I'm sorry, you're a multi-million
I know.
pound corporation. Like, someone should really have, been checking that. But yeah, I mean, we love to send our players to Atletico Madrid, fine. But I guess it's another one off the books, which is good. I guess.
But that tweet earlier that you said about he started 4 of your 6 games since the World Cup, tells you that he probably wasn't the one to lose. But then I guess you have to make room in the squad, and needs must.
Well, he only had a year left on his contract, so realistically, I'm praying that obviously Pedro Porro comes in and he's great, and I do have high.
Well, let's talk about the deal.
Let's
talk about it.
And
Atletico, just to mention, they've gone down the Spurs route before, haven't they, with Trippier?
Yeah. They like. We only do business with certain clubs because no one wants to ever do business with Daniel Levy. So you'll realise, like Rennes is one of a club that we give to, and they give to us, or Lyon, or Seville. Or Madrid.
No, that's a very good point, because if you look at it,
or Barcelona, like that's kind of it. Like
100%, there are clubs that have certain relationships with other clubs, and that.
If you notice, Tottenham and Tottenham, I guess, have done a few bits in the Premier League, but it's very rare you see Tottenham do anything with Chelsea, how Arsenal and Chelsea do. Since Berbatov and Carrick and all of that lot, we don't really do business with United. Lots of clubs don't like to work with Daniel Levy, which is.
There was a school of thought that was suggesting, and James might have something to say on this, that the reason why we didn't pressure Brighton, as it were, is that we're trying to maintain that relationship with them going forward.
Well, I mean, I saw that.
Put the money on the table.
I think it'd be a bit weird if clubs were to get offended by other clubs making bids, but I guess business is about good relationships as well.
Ultimately, yeah.
So but I mean, ultimately, get your target. I'd worry about getting players in rather than maintaining good relationships, but I understand that there's a longer term view, and there's Brighton produced great players, and we've got Matt Ryan on loan, we had Ben White for 50 million, Trossard now for 27. I think it's fair to say that we've done pretty fair business with them, so maybe they want to just maintain that relationship. But on Pedro Porro, I'm not ashamed to admit that he was one I used to sign a lot on Football Manager.
Did a job for you?
Yeah, top player. I love Football Manager. I always stand by it that they very, very rarely get a player wrong.
I like Football Manager as well.
It honestly, their ratings of players, and you get such a good idea for what kind of a player you're getting.
I mean, they told us Freddie Adu was the one that kicked from.
They told you who?
Freddie Adu. You don't remember Freddie Adu?
No.
You don't remember Freddie Adu?
The 15-year-old from DC United.
He's supposed to be the new
next
Pele.
best thing. Yeah, we saw him on the Championship Manager, Football Manager. Freddie Adu. You lot research Freddie Adu.
Google it.
Okay,
anyway,
no,
continue.
I mean,
no, but generally, I agree.
Genuinely, there have 100% been players that Erling Haaland. I'm not even joking. I was playing Football Manager. I was Brentford, and I saw this guy available on a free contract expiring. I was like, well, that's 18 years old. I looked at his stats. I was like, this guy looks unbelievable. Signed him, he was unreal. And I was like, but this was before Haaland was known, right? Same with Osimhen was another, and Pedro Porro is a player that he very much fit the bill of a Man City fullback.
Yeah.
And I sort of thought, okay, but they've agreed this 2-year loan, and then it became a permanent deal. So I think you've purely on Football Manager. I know. I mean, I saw him in the Champions League groups. To be fair,
yeah, we played against them. We had Sporting, and he did look a player. I remember watching him thinking, "Oh, it'd be really nice if we had a fullback that could play like that."
Marcus Edwards is decent as well, isn't it?
Another one on Football Manager.
He's an ex-Spurs.
I know.
Poch was like, he's going to be the next Messi, and then I think he had a bad attitude, and that's why they got rid of him.
Maybe.
So they said.
But Pedro Porro looks a proper final third fullback, which is exactly what you need from a wing back.
Yes.
Conte especially.
What Conte system, and I've got to say, while I know we've been better than you this year, this is why I'm a little bit happy we've played you now twice and it's out of the way.
I'm happy we've played you twice.
Fair enough.
I'm happy I don't have to see you till next season.
But what I mean by that is, while I'll always back my team, what I mean by that is I always felt that as long as it's going for Conte, if he just gets a couple more of those ingredients, the big ones being the wing backs, then actually everything else might start to make more sense.
I mean, that was clear as day. I mean, it was something that was discussed in the summer, and it's like, if you give Conte 2 good fullbacks, his system fundamentally depends on fullbacks. We saw it at Chelsea, we saw it at Milan, so when you've got a team that is so unbalanced in that, and I think that Perisic is fine, he can do a job for another half of the season. Destiny Udoji's on loan, we loaned him back to Udinese for the season. We signed him in the summer, he's having a great season in Syria, so he's another one that will come in.
Kyle Walker-Peters, you let him go, and
we let Kyle Walker-Peters.
Yeah,
but we're going back a long time ago since we let him go. But yeah, look, we've gone downhill in terms of our signings at fullback. We've really let that slide, and I think this is, finally, I'm hopeful that we've kind of hit the nail on the head, and we've got someone that is proven in the Champions League, proven in their league, looks good. It's really not breaking the bank, which is what's made me laugh all window. The release clause was there. It was very obvious. I know that there was a goalpost movement or something the other night, which was to do with that release clause. But look, I'm happy. that it's been finished. I know that they haven't confirmed it yet, but the deal is done, and that is across the line, which is good. That's been going on for all of
Abbi sources,
30
the
days,
deal is done.
30
Trust
days.
me, the deal is done.
But it's good, and
I think you'll not get top 4 now.
I wouldn't go that far.
No, but I was saying that even before. I think.
Do you think they're better than Newcastle?
Yeah, I do.
Do you know, for me, the
think
one area
Conte
I
just needs
thought.
to grow up.
No, but
Stop being such a sourpuss.
The one
as we
area
say,
we needed
and grow
to,
up.
with the one area we needed to do something in this window, and we didn't, because I was saying in the summer we should have gone and got Eriksen back, but Conte doesn't like Eriksen because he went to Milan.
What was more important, the midfield or the wing back?
The wing backs for Conte is far more important, but I still think that having someone to create in this Tottenham side, apart from Harry Kane, that we're seriously lacking.
Kulusevski's back, and
No, I know, but these are players that aren't that they're not creative midfielders. They're wingers, but I want someone that was an Eriksen that used to do that job, and that's I think what we need. But then I guess if you've got 2 good fullbacks and they can do the job that Conte wants them to do, then maybe you don't need them as much. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets off. But all I know is he cannot be any worse than what we've been watching for the last few seasons.
So what you've got now, Pedro Porro sorts your right wing back issue, which was dire. Let's be honest. So
no pun intended.
Dire. No pun. No, some pun.
Yeah. And you've got Perisic, your left wing back, who hasn't been at his best, but I do think there's a player in there. You see some of the assists he's got, some of the things he can do. So that's sort of.
I think he's struggling a little bit to cope with the intensity of the Premier League.
Maybe, but you can see he's a quality player.
He had a great World Cup. He had a brilliant World Cup.
Yeah,
If he
but
could
to be
just
fair, the
channel some
World
of
Cup,
that,
football in the World Cup is slightly different in terms of intensity than the Premier League. I think that's fair to say. But don't get me wrong, I do like Perisic, but I still think, even when we played them, if you notice,
Oh yeah, he was at fault.
he couldn't really cope
a lot.
with the dynamism and the aggression that we showed.
But he might not have to. He might not have to. I think. Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
What I was going to say is that he's been trying to get the ball forward as much as possible because they've been incapable of doing it on the right hand side. So now, if you've got a right hand. A right wing back that can get the ball forward, put the cross into the box, it might mean that Perisic doesn't actually have to do all that work. He can kind of share the load and he doesn't have to keep doing it all the time. He can focus more on maybe just sitting back and chilling a little bit more than being the one that's got to do that and have the high intensity.
How old is Perisic now?
Perisic is 30.
30 something.
I think he's 31, potentially.
Yeah, at least.
Not sure. But
Who, sorry, Perisic?
Perisic.
I think he's like 34.
Oh, he could be. I'm not sure.
I thought he was even older than that. But anyway.
Someone said 34. I'm not sure. I was going 31 or 33. I'm not entirely sure. But whatever he is, he's fine to the end of the season. And then, like I said, we've got Udogie that will come back and he's having a good season. Long may it continue. And then hopefully you've got 2 new fullbacks who both have pace, both look good. Just get through the rest of this season.
Okay. Not that I want things to get better for Tottenham, but, when you think about it, okay, no centre-backs came in, but you got Dyer, Romero, Longley, Ben Davis, one of them. Okay, that feels like an area of weakness, but otherwise, you got Bentancur and Højbjerg, who at the end of last season they had a good thing going.
The midfield and up top is not a problem.
So you
It's not a
sorted
problem.
the wing backs sort of. Okay, Perisic, you need to find better form, and you've got Pedro Porro. I think is going to be a real weapon for you guys. And then in your front three, you've got to fill 3 positions: Kulusevski, Richarlison, Kane, Son, and Danjuma.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
No, it's not bad. I think, like I say, it's
Son's bad.
Up top, it's not the problem. Like Son is having obviously a diabolical season. I know he scored against Preston.
Apparently, he's
but
been improved in the last couple of games. I'm hearing.
he scored against Preston,
North,
but if you want to say that's his level, then fine. But it's not.
Original Invincibles.
He should have been dropped a long time ago. Son, he was dropped for 1 game against Leicester, and that's it. And I think that it's unfair on Richarlison because Richarlison probably should have got more game time.
I was going to say, are you not concerned that Richarlison's not shown nothing since he arrived?
Well, he was out. He was injured for quite some time. I'm more concerned that since he's come back, that I'm more concerned about Conte that he hasn't dropped Son at all. Now bringing in Danjuma as well, I would be hopeful that he is going to drop Son because even though he scored on the weekend, if he's still having the same thing in the Premier League for the next game or so, we're not good enough to carry any passengers in this Tottenham side. So you don't have to carry them up front. You've got Richarlison, you've got Danjuma now as well. He scored as well last week on his debut in the Cup. So I would hope to see him doing stuff. You don't need to just be loyal to someone. Yeah, I get it. He's a great player, but he's having a terrible season. So
by his standards, yeah.
by
any
standards. And
No,
you could say the
serious.
same for someone like Mo Salah as well. They're both having equally very poor seasons, some maybe even worse. But I definitely think that Conte needs to, maybe get some bottle in that sense and drop him, whether or not he's being told to pay him because of the amount of tourists
It could
that come.
be. I suspect that what it is that he's playing him on a bit of reputation, or because he's
We're
done so
7
well
months-
over
we're
previous
literally
years.
7 months
He's
into
thinking, I'll give him
the
a chance.
season.
I'll give him a chance.
Yeah, there's only so long.
There's
that
only
can
so long, and
continue,
also you're kind of like stunting the other people that are on the bench.
yeah.
You know, you brought in Dan Juma. I get it's squad depth. I'm happy with the squad depth we've got up top. It might mean that Harry Kane doesn't have to play every game, which is lovely for Harry Kane.
He will. Every game until he joins Man United.
Of course he will. Of course he will play every game. Don't be so sure. If you miss out on top 4,
Whoa! Don't say those bad
well,
words
just
about us
saying,
missing out
don't
on
get
top
too
4.
cocky.
No.
Don't get too cocky. Yeah, so I think that Dan Juma was a smart signing. I guess I would have liked to have a creative midfielder, but
People are critical of the fact that Conte deploys the back three so often. I kind of get it, because especially when you don't have the ball a lot, which Tottenham do retreat into a bit of shape without it, it can feel very negative. But the one thing I say is, it can sometimes just take one signing that just transforms a little bit the threat.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when you transform the threat, you then transform the mentality that other teams have going into those games
well,
against
look at
you.
last January bringing in Bentancur and Kulusevski.
Absolutely,
It completely
exactly.
transformed Tottenham's season.
Exactly. And when Tottenham have the ball, what you might get is, you know, you've got your back three, your wing backs get high, you've got your 2 central midfield, and you've got your wing backs with your front three. That's a 3-2-5. Guess who else plays like that when they got the ball? Manchester City, Arsenal, it's the same thing. Because Zinchenko comes into midfield, so you've got your back three, you've got 2, and then you've got your front 5. So if they can just get that right with the wing backs,
Yeah.
and they can just have a bit more control of possession in games, I think you'll start to get a lot more out of, I mean, a right-hand side of Kulusevski cutting in, trying to create and cause stuff with Pedro Porro overlapping. That's threatening.
But I think
That's
the biggest
as good a
problem
wide right as you're going to find in
Anywhere.
the league behind
But
Saka and
I
Rice.
think the biggest problem is that they've been playing this back three with these 2 fullbacks that can't necessarily do the job they're doing. Obviously, he alternates sometimes between putting Ben Davies there and also either having Royale or Doherty at that point. So you are asking them to, in a way, protect the back three by doing that, but you're not offering them any protection because your midfield's getting completely outrun because your fullbacks aren't good enough. So I think he's been very vocal about the fact that he wanted fullbacks. He said that in the summer. Obviously, he's only got a few months left on the contract, but better late than never. So we'll see if it improves. But I'll be interested to see if the defending improves by having Perisic and Porro, and if they look more comfortable in a back three, because we've all seen they've looked completely uncomfortable in that back three.
So you think,
And so
even if you
exposed.
get top 4, you think he's gone full stop in the summer? You don't think there's any kind of reconciliation?
They haven't offered a new contract.
That's incredible.
They haven't, from my knowledge, they haven't offered a new contract. I don't necessarily think Antonio Conte wants to stay past the summer.
So what are we doing?
I must admit, I am becoming increasingly of that view. The vibes, the body language,
Well,
it's
that's
not
why
good.
they're not going to give him another contract.
He did this in his last season at Chelsea, where from the January onwards, he was kind of just treading water.
You're not better off sacking him and getting another manager and
I
saying
mean-
you've got 6 months
Might
to...
win the FA Cup, like he did with Chelsea
Well, that's
his
the
last
thing.
season.
It's a conversation that I've had many times on here as well, and with lots of Spurs fans. I was in the mindset of get rid of him, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, well, now he's actually got fullbacks. I'm kind of interested to see what he does with said fullbacks.
And James, you have to remember, if you sack him, you've got to pay up his
You've
contract.
got to pay the contracts, and also I mean, to be fair, there's not much left. He had a 1.5-year contract for £20 million, so he's nearly at the end of it. You might as well just see it through.
5 million.
And I would love to go on a cup run. I really would like to go on a cup run. So if you're going to have anyone, you know,
Has the
like,
FA Cup draw been done yet?
yeah, we've either got Wrexham or I'd love to have
Sheffield
Wrexham,
United.
Yeah.
Sheffield, but I know Sheffield are going to knock him out because it's at Sheffield.
Okay.
But hopefully it's
So
Wrexham.
that, I mean, win that and you're in the quarter-final.
Well, exactly. And you know,
And
we
who's
can-
left in it to worry about? Man City, Man
Man
United?
City, United,
Brighton are brilliant.
Yeah, that's
Brighton.
Fulham.
I think Fulham have got a replay
Maybe.
against Sunderland.
Okay.
Not
Yeah,
sure, but
correct,
you know,
yeah.
it's a very viable option for Tottenham, and I think that should we get to a final, I would want Antonio Conte as the manager
Yeah.
to take you into that final.
Let's give you some more details on the Enzo Fernandez deal. He will sign with Chelsea until June 2031.
God,
Eight-
Mark, that's going to come round real quick.
That's 7, 8?
That's
2031.
8.5
years.
Is it June? Yeah.
June 2031.
But we know what's behind that. It's
Yeah, of course, it's
the
spread-
financial
Exactly
fair
the
play.
same
It is mad
deal.
when you think about it.
Agreed on the first week of January. Okay, so they've had this in place for ages.
And let's face it,
nothing
these
has-
contracts are not worth the paper they're written in, really. So.
Nothing has ever changed between the player and Chelsea. He's always been open to the move and happy to join Chelsea.
Can I just say something on these 8-year contracts that Chelsea are doing now? Obviously,
Madness.
AGT spoke about it. He said, "Why can't Liverpool do something like that?" players' contracts have, transfer fees have always been spread over the length of their contract. First time we're really hearing about it is now because Chelsea are signing these massive contracts, 7-8 years, which we don't really see. But if it's a 4-year contract, it's spread over 4 years. If it's a 5-year contract, etc., etc. Now, you can ask, why don't Liverpool do something like that, or why don't this club or that club? Every club is not in the same financial situation that Chelsea's in terms of how beneficial. They got no debt, and they've got rich owners, and they've got a legal binding agreement to spend a certain amount of money. At the end of those 8 years, remember, so they're paying. They have agreed to pay that over 8 years. In the 7th and 8th year, Chelsea can afford to continue to pay these installments that they've agreed back in 2023. But if you're a club who hasn't got that kind of money, if all your players are on these 7-8 year contracts, you don't know what situation you're going to be in that time. You might be trying to get rid of these players, and these players aren't going, maybe because of the wages that they're on, or that you can't find a buyer, and you're stuck with the financial penalty or responsibility to have to pay both their salary and continue to write off that amount on their wage. For Chelsea, it's perfect. For Chelsea, it's fine.
I don't know the stats.
But for every club, you can't do that. It's a risk at the end of the contract.
I don't know the stats, but how long do you think the average stint of a player at a club is?
Not 8.5 years.
No. So what, maybe three? Maybe
I would say 3 at the most.
Yeah. So double that, and then add 60% more. That is 60% of, you know, that you get my point. That's the length we're talking
what
about.
happens if Enzo or any of the signings become unbelievable, and then you get a Madrid coming in and saying, I want him, and he's still got 5 years.
Then they're going to say 200 million.
Well, there we go. And then we're going to start seeing a whole new market.
I'll refer you back to that list that Nick's read out. How many of them do get to that?
I don't know.
So the thing is, right, that, look, they might be. You're right. They might have just stumbled on a bit of magic here.
Jackpot.
We're going to sign the 5, best players for the coming years that European and world football's ever going to see, and we're going to have them tied down for 8 years, and they're not going anywhere. And if someone wants them, they're paying 150 million. If they do,
yeah, fair enough.
But if they don't, and they're not brilliant with the size of squad, and guess what? In the next 2 years, Chelsea want to sign another winger. So what happens to Madueke? What happens to Sterling? What happens to...
It's not something we haven't seen before at Chelsea.
No,
not this level of contract.
No, not this level of contract, but the amount of players that they have signed, that some players haven't worked out and they just go off into the night because you forget that they've signed so many players. There was one I was talking about yesterday. Was it Baba Rahman is a Chelsea player?
Yeah.
You know, like...
We played against him the other day. Where is that Red?
I think he is.
Reading. Yeah, we played against him the other day.
I was thinking to myself, that's well random. Like, how is he still there?
Bakayoko's still going on loan. I think even today with some...
There's a lot of players that are connected to Chelsea.
Well, you know what the thing? I don't understand. Like, it's going to be interesting. I don't know the details of their actual contract. So, let's say they're on 100,000 a week. Are they willing to... What they've actually said, I am willing to be on 100,000 a week for the next 8 years. Chelsea don't have to negotiate another contract for them for 8.5 years. But in 4.5 years, the market changes. Maybe you're like, all my players are on 250,000 a week, and I'm still stuck on this 100,000. You watch The Last Dance, and Scottie Pippen signed that long deal. You seen it? It's old. It came out during lockdown.
No, back in
No. But he signed this long contract, and about 3 years in, after they won a three-peat, he's like, well, I want more money. He's like, well, no, you signed that contract, you're stuck on it. And those Chelsea players, I'm thinking, why would you sign your life away effectively? Chelsea have your ownership for 8.5 years. There's nothing you can do about it.
I think you touched on it so crucial there. This isn't even just, we're not even just questioning this from the Chelsea and club perspective, it's the player perspective as well. You're so right. But why do players really want to? I kind of get it. There's a degree of security there.
I was going to say,
also,
especially
the ceiling you're putting on your career to a degree, unless someone is willing. Unless Barcelona or Real Madrid willing to look at Enzo in 3 years' time and go, yeah, we'll pay 150 million and buy out the last 6 years of his contract.
And Enzo might say, well, you better pay me more, or I'm down in tools, I'm going on strike.
I think, to be fair to the players and the agents concerned, if you're a young player of that potential, if you can secure the bag, now you do it. You know why? Because there's such a thing called injury, loss of form.
Yeah, fair.
You don't know what's going to happen. You have to strike while the iron's hot. So you can't really blame them, really.
I'd be getting that bag. I wouldn't.
Yeah, you would get
well,
the
tell
back.
me you wouldn't be happy being on 100 grand
Of
for the
course
rest
you would,
of your
but you
for
look
the
at
next 8 years.
look at NBA contracts.
I'd be
Look at
buzzing.
NBA contracts. A lot of them are short contracts. Now,
Yeah.
of course, injuries can happen, but those leagues are now a players' league where players are controlling their movement. They can move after a couple of years for free transfer or anything like that. Whereas it's like we're going the opposite direction in football, where the clubs are in control of the players as opposed to the players being in control of their own future. It's just strange. It's different.
Let's talk Everton. We have Mike, Everton fan, who's joining us. Headphones on, everybody. Here we are. Mike, how you doing?
No, mate, I'm depressed. How are you?
Well, welcome to DR Sports. Okay. Let's get into it. Let's talk about your club. Let's talk about. Sean Dyche has just come through the door, but a very underwhelming transfer window. Danjuma, it looked like it was all done. Tottenham came in at the last minute, and I've seen a few last-minute bids. I think Mateta was one of them, Ismail Assar, but it's just, do you know what? I'll just let you take it away. Just let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I mean, there is no positive to the situation at all. Everton obviously sit 19th in the league anyway, so it was never going to be an easy window. But the fact of the matter is Everton have had money, they haven't used it. Players haven't wanted to come and join Everton because they're no longer seen probably as an attractive club. When teams like, and this is no disrespect to Southampton and Bournemouth, but they're choosing to play for those clubs instead of a club like Everton, it speaks volumes of where Everton are. So we're destined for the Championship. I think we were lucky last season, and I think today is probably one of the final nails in the coffin this season. We have brought Sean Dyche in, who is good at doing firefighting and making a team solid, but this team of players isn't good enough to be a Premier League team. So, they'll go down, but they might go down with a fight, but we'll still go down. It is what it is. It's horrible, but you've almost got to accept it at this point.
Mike, can I ask you a question? We spoke earlier about Anthony Gordon and obviously his behaviour in getting that move away. I personally said for me he's a bit of a disgrace because he portrayed himself as an Everton fan. We know he's a boyhood, come through from the academy, but all his decisions in this space doesn't seem to come from a player who deemed himself to be an Everton fan. What's your take on that as an Everton fan?
Yeah, well, he wasn't. If we put it like that, he's a Liverpool fan. He was born a Liverpool fan. He played for the Everton academy from the age of 11. But as soon as the goings got tough at Everton, he's decided to leave. And to be honest, it's not horrendous from an Everton fan perspective because he wasn't starting every single game. He wasn't changing every single game. He was known as a bit of a diver, so he was perceived in a negative way. £45 million is a lot of money. It's probably more than he's worth, if I'm being totally honest. I don't necessarily think he's going to be the player that people may think he's going to be. So from an Everton fan perspective, I kind of wish him luck, as I do with every player that leads Everton, because I'm not a negative person like that. But I don't think he's going to find it easy getting into a Newcastle side that's doing well. I think it'll be very quick that he gets shown up by players like Almiron and Saint-Maximin. And I think where Newcastle's trajectory is, I think that will be a higher level than where Anthony Gordon's trajectory is. So, yeah, I think he's going to struggle in the long term, but I wish him well. But, he left the club and the behaviour, they're not turning up at training. Yeah, it's a disgrace, but I'd say that about any player. It's not just Anthony Gordon, to be honest. You were linked with Conor Gallagher earlier today as a replacement, obviously, and the deal would have been around the same 45 million. Would that have been a player that you would have wanted and you felt could have helped you in a relegation fight? Obviously, he remained at Chelsea, but was that something you were looking forward to? Yeah, it's a player that obviously Conor Gallagher, we know he's a talented player. He was very talented at Palace, which is obviously they're a level above us as well, which is painful to say as well, but they are a level above us. He would have added goals. He would have added a little bit of dynamism in midfield. The one thing with Everton is they've got players who are fairly quick on the counter-attack, but they haven't got any IQ in the middle of the park. And I think Conor Gallagher would have done that. He would have added that little bit of sensibleness with a football, and that's what Everton lack, and they're going to lack all season now. To be honest, though, Conor Gallagher is a step above Everton. It was very, very naive of Everton to consider going for Conor Gallagher, and if all of your eggs was in that basket, bearing in mind we've had a 6-week World Cup and a 4-week January period, and you are literally putting in a bid the day before deadline day for Conor Gallagher, it's ridiculous. Everton knew that Gordon was leaving at the start of the window, so this wasn't new, it wasn't sprung on them. They really should have had their ducks in a row and I's dotted and T's crossed and been able to move in the transfer window, and they didn't. So Conor Gallagher would have been a great addition, but I never expected him to really sign for Everton, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough.
Hi there. I'm picking up on your tone. You seem resigned to being relegated. I just wondered, with the appointment of Sean Dyche, does that give you some hope, though? Because from where we're sitting over here, it would seem like Sean Dyche is a good appointment for Everton.
He is. He absolutely is. He's a great appointment. He's a manager that knows how to get the best out of players. He's passionate. He'll get every Everton player playing in that blue shirt. We've got the derby, which, I believe we'll be doing a watch along on BR Sports, so make sure you tune in for that. And every single player will know their job, which is something that hasn't happened under Frank Lampard at Everton. But the simple fact of the matter is the quality isn't there. So it's almost like saying we will fight, we will battle. But when you've seen every other team in the Premier League strengthen, and not just strengthen, I mean, you're talking about Wolves who have signed Kuna and got a really good manager in. You're on about a player like signings at Southampton have made, like Sulemana, who Everton were linked with. They've brought in pace and quality. It's just too much for Everton. I think Sean Dyche has been seriously let down by this board. He's been completely missold the job, and I feel sorry for him, to be honest. I feel sorry that he's taken a job for a ship that he's sinking. And to be honest, as brilliant as he is, as much as a miracle worker he can be, I think the fate is sealed. The only thing I would say is if Sean Dyche manages to keep this Everton side in the Premier League, he should have a statue outside Goodison Park. Because I'm telling you, we're finished. We are finished as a football club.
Very quick supplementary, and I'll pass it back to James. So his first game is this weekend against Arsenal. Obviously, we've got an interest here in that game. How's your thoughts going into that game?
New manager bounce.
Will there be a new manager bounce?
And
if there is, will it be enough for Everton?
Arsenal are playing sensationally this season, and I've been in the studio loads of times with you guys, and we've done shows and whatever. And I remember about 2.5 years ago when there was this whole Everton Ancelotti and Arsenal Arteta debate, and we were saying Arsenal were lacking ambition and Everton were going for the ceiling with Ancelotti, and now times have changed. I think this game's going to be a complete culture shock to a lot of people. That Arsenal are going to come to Goodison Park, they're going to completely dominate the ball. Everton will be resolute, there's no doubt about that, but Arsenal have shown this season that they can break anyone down whenever they like. They've got too much quality, so I think Everton will really, really struggle to contain that. I think the best Everton can hope for is a draw. But if Arsenal go 1-0 up, that stadium's going to go from placid to so toxic in a matter of moments. So that's not going to help.
Even with the new manager?
Not towards the new manager, no, but towards the board. The Everton fans have had enough of the board, and I think a lot of the fans are resigned to the fact that this manager and this club is going to go down, and it's not really his fault. They'll support the players, they'll back the players, but Arsenal are a quality side, so you would expect them to come to Goodison and roll us over, to be honest. And if you want a score prediction, I'll go 2-0 Arsenal all day, every day.
Mike, do you think actually, while Sean Dyche is a great appointment and you sort of had to get him in to at least try and get some business done for him in what remained of the window, is it a kind of where there might have been a manager bounce? And by the way, I still think there will be. I'm not anticipating leads again for Arsenal at all, but where there might have been a managerial bounce, actually the end of the transfer window is potentially going to knock the confidence a little bit, or kind of cancel that energy that was around the new appointment, because it's been such a disappointing end to the window?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like knocking the wind out of your sails. The simple fact of the matter is, we all know that Frank Lampard should have been sacked weeks ago. You know, Everton, after the Bournemouth game, which was the game just before the World Cup, Everton had teams at Goodison Park like Wolves and Southampton. Everton lost both of those games, when really, on paper, at home, Everton, you'd like to think would win those games. Frank Lampard was naive tactically, and you think if a Sean Dyche was in, maybe he would have ground out a 1-0, or maybe he would have got at least a draw, which would have kept us closer to the middle of the pack, middle of, say, 15th, 16th, 17th. As it sits, he's been brought in far too late, and then you've got the complete idiocy of the Everton board by going for two polar opposites in managers, one wanting Bielsa and one wanting Dyche. So that speaks volumes of where Everton Football Club are. So Sean Dyche coming in right at the end of this window, not signing the player. You know, we're being linked with Andre Ayew. I'm not being funny, and I mean this is no disrespectful. I'd rather not sign him. I'd rather just play a kid and give him the exposure to go into the Championship with a bit of confidence. But yeah, I have no positives for this situation apart from Sean Dyche. If he keeps us up, honestly, I'd get. I'm not saying that because I'd have to stick to it, but I'd love him forever.
Yeah, fair enough. Well,
I'm feeling you. I must say, bro, I'm feeling your pain.
No, I like it. I like Everton.
You never know. You could get something out of the weekend, and then you could get that new manager.
I'm hoping that you're right about Abbi
speaking that into existence.
It's tough.
I'm going to manifest it for you.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I really do. The thing is, it's tough because, you know, like my dad, for example, he saw Everton in like the 80s win leagues, win cups, win European cups, etc. And it's slowly through the generations we've got worse. And I'm going to see Everton, and my little boy, for example, is going to see Everton playing Championship football or Second Division football for the first time in 72 years. It's not like Everton it used to be. So it's really difficult to comprehend how I feel, because I feel like you've split up with a girl, like it's heartbroken. I feel heartbroken that the club is finished. Yeah. And honestly, as I say, if Sean Dyche manages to keep us up, I love him.
Can I make a prediction? This is a genuine prediction. Honestly, I'm not even just saying this because, you know, as Laurie said, we feel your pain and, you know, it's sad, but a genuine prediction. I think Sean Dyche is going to keep you up. I actually do. I think he's a top manager. I think he's going to get something out of that team. There's still a whole half of the season to go. And I think with some sensible recruitment and another year of playing it safe under Dyche, then the new stadium to come. And I know new stadiums can do big things, you know. Players think, I want to play in that ground. Yeah. I want to live in that city. You know, I want to be a part of what this is building to be. And, you know, and I actually think Everton will be fine. And I think within 3-4 years, you'll get a much more competitive side at the very least.
I'll tell you something else as well. There's a few Arsenal fans I've spoken to. They're a little bit concerned about that game on Saturday, you know.
I told you, Arsenal fans are nervous.
You know, listen, let's be honest. In the corresponding fixture last year, Everton actually beat us, and you were in a pretty parlous state then.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we're certainly not going there thinking that the 3 points is in the bag.
No, agreed.
So... yeah, it'll be interesting.
We'll see, guys. We will see. I hope you're all right. I hope we get 3 points on Saturday. I didn't say
that.
But let's just say, from 2:30 on Saturday, Everton are my second club, and I'm wishing you all the best. But not before 2:30 p.m. on Saturday. But
you know what, James? You know what? That is a very good point.
By then, Liverpool good.
I think that is a very good point, James, because I think we can all agree here that the Premier League is a better place for Everton being in it.
Definitely,
I agree. Mike, you've been fantastic. You've been, you know, really honest, and you know, we really appreciate you joining us. And like I said, disappointing into the window, but I think there's a manager there who he doesn't need signings to make a difference. So I'm expecting a real turnaround for Everton. But you know, we will see you on DR Sports. We look forward to having you back. Many thanks, man.
Okay.
We see that, guys.
Take care. Pedro Porro is done.
That was a really good
They've
call.
done the announcement.
It's amazing how raw he was about the whole situation.
I could feel his pain.
I think it puts
depression. I felt it come.
Yeah, you felt that, yeah.
I don't blame him.
And you know, I understand that football comes in cycles, and I understand that, you're not always going to have a great time with your club. Arsenal will sometimes be a successful club, they'll sometimes not. And when Arsenal went through the difficult times a couple of years ago, I saw people saying, listen, I watched Arsenal in the 80s, you think this is bad? So I understand that there's cycles in football, but it's a different thing when you feel totally and utterly disconnected from your club, when you feel disrespected as a fan base, when you feel like you're not even trying. That's all you can ask. Everyone, there's 20 teams in the league. 3 of them have to go down. That's just the rules. 3 of them have to go down. But they can go down trying.
You want to show that they play for the badge.
All that, exactly.
And I must say as well, what I was picking up from that call there, what was his name? Mike,
yeah.
Mike was sort of echoing some of the sentiments that Jamie Carragher, who's Liverpool legend, but he's an Evertonian by birth. He expressed the view, didn't he, that they've been so badly run over the years that now it's got to the point where they're like free falling into the Championship. And I think that was a lot of what Mike was saying there. So
we've got 8 minutes of the January transfer window left. I don't know if there's been a more exciting January transfer window since
Peter Odemwingie.
Shall we, just for fun, before we recap all the deals, shall we just go through some of our favourite transfer window memories? I'm going to put one out there. The Andy Carroll, Luis Suarez, Fernando Torres deadline day. What a deadline day of carnage that was. Kenny Dalglish going, have Fernando. I'm bringing in Liverpool's best ever striker and worst ever striker in the same window. Fair play. What else have we got?
I must say, you'd struggle to get for a story better than Odemwingie.
Odemwingie is my favourite.
That's crazy.
Turned up the car.
But remember,
the sky cameras there, everything.
But remember also back in the day, the January transfer window was characterised by the old Harry Redknapp interview.
Yeah.
Remember?
Out
The window down outside the training ground.
Yeah, just signed Nico Crancher, Peter Crouch come in.
Meanwhile, Nico Croucher was a baller.
He was a class player. He signed it wherever he went.
I loved him. Loved him.
Do you remember when he went to
back.
Portsmouth, signed Defoe and Crouch, left Portsmouth, went to Tottenham, re-signed Defoe and Crouch?
I remember we sold Defoe, then bought him back, sold Chimbonda, again, weirdly brought him back. I was like, what did he warrant in the first spell to then bring him back? It was very odd.
I got 2 deadline day transfers. So one is actually 3, to be fair. One of them's in the same transfer window, but Ozil, Gareth Bale, because Spurs were holding out on the sale of Gareth Bale to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it
But
was.
that wasn't a January one.
No. I know it was summer, but that was. I think it was to stop Arsenal getting Ozil, just to try and delay it. And the moment that he signed, bam!
Yeah.
Ozil was announced straight away. I was like,
that was bad.
I'll tell you one of the oddest transfer signs, and James will back me up on this. Arsenal's January, I think it was back in 2014.
Arshavin.
No, Kim Kallstrom.
Yeah, Kim Kallstrom. We needed a midfielder. He turned up with a broken back, scored a penalty in the FA Cup semi-final,
and that was it.
And left an Arsenal legend.
And that was the sum. And that was seriously, that was the sum total of his involvement.
Yeah,
a penalty. He literally came on, converted a penalty, and that was it.
He was a neat player, you know.
Yeah.
Another one, the Arshavin. Do you remember the winter one? Well, it was January winter, but it was snowing.
He was at the village in Boreham Wood.
It delayed loads of
Who did we sign that window when you signed Arshavin?
Oh, I don't know.
It was a weird thing. We both did something on the same day, and it was.
Wasn't there a window where Tottenham signed about half a dozen signings?
That was after Bale.
It would have been through Gareth Bale.
We signed Ericsson.
Yeah, that was
Let me see if I can remember them.
Oh,
Ericsson.
The 7, the famous. The sorry 7.
Yeah, I think that's what they were called in the end.
Was that what they were called?
Okay, we had Ericsson, Chadley.
Yeah. Lamella,
Etienne Capoue, Benjamin Stambouli.
Yeah, I think so.
Did Sandro come that window?
No. That was well before. There was a centre-back.
Soldado.
Oh.
Soldado was in that, thank you. There we go. That was it. Maybe Stambouli might not have been in that window. I think he was.
And that was all off the Gareth Bale money, wasn't it?
I tell you what, that's
7.
a pretty appalling.
Unless I'm missing one. I want to say Fazio.
Fazio. And Paulinho.
Oh, Paulinho. There we go. There we go. That's 7.
Wow. What a crop of players.
What a group.
Trying to think.
The only one that worked was
Ericsson.
He was good.
Chadley was alright, wasn't
he? Come on, there's got to be some others. I mean,
no, it was for the summer. Berbatov, Man United.
Yeah.
So Man City put in a Premier League record bid, 32 million, and Spurs were like, yeah, accept that. and he flew to Manchester airport, and Fergie picked him up from the airport.
Is that right?
Yeah, Fergie picked him up from the airport, took him to Carrington, called Spurs and said, he's not going City,
Gangster.
he's going Man United, accept our bid of less, 30.75, which is 2 million less than Man City bidded. And he accepted it.
What a story.
I don't know if he missed training, but he definitely played one game for Spurs that season. And he was just like walking around the pitch. Berbatov worked at the best of times,
anyway.
but he was like, I don't even want to be here.
Yeah, that
So
was
he
that
picked him up
top.
from the airport.
And then you wonder why we don't do business with United.
And then that same day, they then broke the record and signed Robinho, who actually thought he was joining Chelsea, and he only thought there was only one club in Manchester, which is Man United.
One thing about that as well, when you got Berbatov, you gave us Fraser Campbell.
Good player.
As well. Imagine that. You lose Berbatov and they go,
he's still
oh,
playing,
here's
isn't
the
he? You got 30 million.
Fraser Campbell.
Better than your Lamella Gilt, Brian Hill side.
I'll tell you what, though. I'll tell you what, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, for excitement in January, it doesn't get more exciting than when Ozil and Aubameyang sign. The scenes outside the ground and the fans and all that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's replicated at any other club.
But the
Aubameyang was in there.
Aubameyang was just
Aubameyang was January. Ozil was summer, but the
I'm not
scenes
gonna lie,
were-
Sanchez signing for Man United was pretty
The
exciting.
piano.
The piano, you don't understand how gassed I was. I was like, Alexis, we got another one from Arsenal. After RVP, we got another one.
Best video I've seen, best reveal, has to be Burnley with the Shrek thing.
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
very,
yeah.
very
That's a
good.
recent one.
Yeah,
Oh,
their
yeah.
it's just
social
a-
media
That was
has
so
been absolutely
good.
on point.
So good.
But I think Peter and Winger goes down.
Oh, he
my
wins.
Oh, yeah,
favourite
that's
ever. But also just the reporters outside the grounds with the fans that would all gather for deadline day. I mean,
because
it was such an occasion.
And they changed it after one of the fans brought an object that
Because he
shouldn't be seen on
literally
national
drove,
TV.
didn't he, from training, from West Brom
Vlad
down to...
Kirikez, that's who it was.
And
Vlad Kirikez.
it's astonishing. That will never be. That will never be surpassed. That will never be surpassed.
I think most players are like they don't want to be another Wingley, so they will never turn up when they're not supposed to be.
Have you listened to the Peter Crouch podcast? It's just sparked by Alex Holt. By the way, we're 45 seconds away from the window closing.
And Chelsea are yet to announce Enzo. Guys, it could be off.
It might have all fallen apart.
No, I
We're
think
going to have Matisse on any second to discuss it.
Because they said they have to run it, they have to run to get the paperwork.
That fax machine.
They tripped.
They're frantically trying to just write. They don't have time to print. They're trying to write it in hand, the contract. 23 seconds to
30
go.
seconds for us to sign Mbappe on loan.
Peter Crouch said. Peter Crouch said in the podcast that he remembers on a deadline day, he was watching Sky Sports, and they were reporting that he was on his way to Stoke, I think it was, in a helicopter. He just left with his agent to fly over to Stoke. He was watching that from a garage off the service station off the M25 or whatever. Going, what? Really?
Didn't even know
really
about
worth
it.
listening to his podcast. It's a great story. And that's it. The transfer window is closed. One of the most sensational transfer windows, or January transfer windows, we've ever seen. There's been so much money spent. 99% of the fees spent by Chelsea.
Yeah.
And yet,
Across all of Europe.
That's not a stat. It's an unreal, but we're going to recap all of it now before we leave you. Should we just get you guys
Starting with
asking in the
AFC
comments?
Bournemouth or what?
What's that?
You said we'll recap all of it. I said what? Starting with AFC Bournemouth.
Let's start with Rotherham and their business. No, but I do want to ask everyone to get in the comment section. Let us know your January signing of the window, your club transfer business of the window, if that makes sense.
Your signing of the January transfer window.
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
Rate your clubs.
And then also which club you think's had the best window.
Okay.
I explained it horrifically, but it's 11 and I've been ill for 2 days, but we're powering through.
Tired.
And I'm exhausted.
As long as we don't fall asleep on stream,
Oh yeah.
Like Robbie.
Going back to Everton, it could be argued that the signing of Sean Dyche is a very big signing for them, because it all starts at the top, doesn't it? So.
Yeah.
Could be. Right, you got them?
Should we go through them?
Go on.
Let's start with Arsenal. Yay. Leandro Trossard, 27 million. Jakub Kivior for 20 million. And Jorginho for 12 million. I'm going to say I think that's a good window for us. I think it's slightly underwhelming with the links to 70, 80 million pound players, the title difference makers and all that. But if you're talking about adding really reliable depth, that can do a job when you're still competing in the Europa League. You haven't spent an absolute fortune, but you've clearly invested fairly considerably. There's experience in there. I like it.
I agree.
I'm going to
say 2 out of
say
10. No, I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. Pushing to a 7, but no more than a 7.
I would give it. You think I'm crazy? I would give it an 8, only because
you're top of the league.
Yeah,
and the vibes are high.
Marquinhos has gone out on loan, as has Albert Sambi Lokonga. I think that's part of it. I think those are really good loans for them as well. Anyone else quickly on Arsenal?
I can't help but I can't help but feel a little disappointed because although the Trossard was a very good move for us, I just think that this window was dominated by signings that we thought we were going to get and we didn't quite get. So that feeling is kind of inescapable for me. Although I do take your point that there's been some good practical signings in there. We don't know too much about.
There's a good injection of freshness into the squad. That's what
I think that's the most important thing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I can't hide my sense of disappointment.
Yep. Aston Villa brought in Alex Moreno from Real Betis for 30.3 million. John Duran on the way out. Danny Ings went to West Ham for 15 million. Youngster Aaron Ramsey went to Middlesbrough on loan. Louis Barry went to Salford City. He did get injured immediately. You're right. Bournemouth, they did get busy in this winger. Ouattara from Lorient for 20 million. Dan Randolph from West Ham. Antoine Semenyo, another Football Manager one, may I say. So he's going to be brilliant. From Bristol for 10.5 million. Matisse Vina on loan from Roma. And Zabani from Dynamo Kiev for 24 million. So
they're giving themselves a chance of staying up.
I was going to say though, with Bournemouth, do you not think it's like after the horse has bolted? I just
not at all. Not at all.
Because they actually did well enough to keep things.
It's really close down the bottom of the table. It's a couple of points.
I don't know.
And that's why Everton fans are going to be so despondent because they're seeing everyone else around them doing business and they're not doing anything.
Listen, there's 3 down, as we know, and I'll be absolutely amazed if Bournemouth is not one of them. And that's no disrespect to Bournemouth. It's just the way it is.
Brentford, I didn't even know they did this deal. Kevin Schade from Freiburg on loan. He's, the manager tells me he's good. Romeo Beckham from Inter Miami on loan. And Vincent.
Was that for Instagram followers, was it?
I don't know. Vincent Angelini from Watford as well. Didn't lose any. Well, I mean, say Carlos went to Olympiacos. Tarek Fosu to Rotherham on loan as well. Brighton, Jamie Mullins. From,
Sorry, to just go back to the Brentford one. And I was serious, by the way, about that Beckham. What is the rationale behind that? But anyway, I was just thinking with what we think will happen to Ivan Toney facing a long-term ban.
Well, they're not doing it. It don't look like they're doing it now until the summer, it looks like.
Don't you think they would have been best looking at some kind of striker to come in?
Maybe, but
we don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I know so little about it though.
Okay.
Jamie Mullins is coming from Bohemians for Brighton. Buonanotte from Rosario Central, and Yasin Ayari, the young midfielder, I believe, from AIK Solna. They lost Leandro Trossard, as we mentioned earlier. Chelsea, quiet window for them. Michaela Mudryk came in for 88.5 million. Benoit Badiashile, David Fofana, Andre Santos, João Felix on loan for Atletico Madrid, Noni Madueke for 29 million, and Malo Gusto for 26.3 million as well. He's gone back out on loan, and they lost Jorginho to Arsenal for 12 million. They did get through the door Enzo Fernandez as well at the very end, it looks like. Crystal Palace, they got busy at the end. Ahamada from Stuttgart for an undisclosed fee, and Albert Sambi Lokonga has come on loan, so they've added reinforcements in midfield. Jack Butland's gone to Manchester United on loan for the rest of the season. And Ibiowe has gone to Hull City on loan as well. Everton didn't make a single signing, and I think might be the only club in the league not to make a single signing. They did sell Anthony Gordon for 45 million. You'd think with Gordon having gone, Richarlison for 60 million in the summer, they might have been able to do some more business.
Yeah.
But
Mike says nobody don't want to go there.
Well, there you go.
Not looking like a good prospect.
Niels Nkunku went to St Etienne on loan, and Solomon Rondon went to River Plate on a free. Fulham brought in Sasa Lukic from Torino for 8 million, but I do believe they've got the Cedric deal over the line as well. Anthony Knockout went to Huddersfield on loan. Nathaniel Shalabar to West Brom for an undisclosed fee. fee. And Josh Onoma has left for Preston on a free as well. Leeds got busy. Max Verber from Red Bull Salzburg for 11 million. Jorginho Rutter for 35.5 million from Hoffenheim. And Weston McKennie on loan. And then today, Diogo Monteiro from Servette as well. So they've definitely added. This is where Mike's frustration comes through, because they're basically saying, oh, we've got Matisse, let's bring Matisse in. This is where the frustration comes through, because they're seeing everyone's strength and everyone add players.
It's a good, I think that's a good window for Leeds.
It is. We'll go through the rest of the set. They did let Diego Llorente go to Roma. Are you in a suit? What, are you conducting the business?
Well,
you getting the papers done?
It's been a busy day. I mean, I have to take this seriously. It's deadline day.
Where are you?
I'm in headquarters.
Is that why you got your suit on?
You got a whole suit.
You got a suit on.
And, yeah.
It's a big day. I mean, I just come back from Portugal myself. It's been a big meeting. We've all put the work in. Do you know what I mean? So I'm happy the deal's done at last.
Fair play. So after the months of negotiation, you settled on just paying the release clause, right?
I mean, listen, I'm a bad negotiator. What can I say? Do you know what I mean?
I dress well, but I'm terrible at my job.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm just buzzing that it's finally over. I mean, literally, it took to the last minute. Like, how many hours went by, and it was just, is it going to get done? Is it not? And I was starting to think to myself, is this going to be a loan? Or we just send him back? We've done that with a few players, but it's agreement to come in right now, and he's a great player. We saw what he did at the World Cup, so I'm buzzing. This is my favourite.
It's weird because you would have been panicking. You had no one else to play if he wasn't there.
Yeah, it would have been quite a window had it not been for Enzo. So good thing that went through.
Yeah.
We've only got 35 players, so we're a little bit light, and also we've got about 10 injuries. So the way that every single match goes by, someone gets injured, we actually probably need this amount of players, to be honest.
Fair enough. Laura, you're going to come in there.
I was going to ask the question, but I think you may have already answered it. All those signings, some real big names in there. Which one of those signings excite you the most? I think you may have already hinted at it. Yeah.
This one, yeah. This
it's
one.
Not the Mudryk.
Yeah, I mean, sorry about that. You know what I mean? This one alongside João Felix, because they're the ones that I feel most confident in terms of instant successes. I just think the quality is undeniable. Mudryk is more unknown in terms of the amount of games he's playing, and obviously Madueke, etc., these guys I haven't been watching on a constant basis, but we saw what Felix has done at Benfica, had a tough time under Simeone. We've rescued him, and hopefully he delivers. And then obviously this one, I mean, unbelievable World Cup. He's been statistically killing it at Benfica. It's just insane what he's doing. So I feel like it's worth overpaying. So yeah, I'm buzzing.
I have to say, Matisse, I for one hope that it fails. I hope, I got nothing against the players, but I hope that Chelsea fans are off their high horse in a few months when they're like, damn, I think we signed too many players. But realistically, what are you expecting between now and the end of the season? If anything, maybe you're thinking it's time to gel, or you're too far back from, top 4 Champions League is unrealistic. I don't know. What are you expecting between now and the end of the season?
We put ourselves in such a poor position in terms of Champions League. We've got 29 points. We're not even near 40 yet. So I've always said, listen, let's try to stay up. Do you know what I mean? But seriously, if I'm being serious, it would be lovely to make a last gasp push for Champions League, but it's not something that I'm expecting in terms of I expect us to go on a 12-winning game run now and the Champions League, because I do respect the teams that are actually already in there, and I don't expect them to just drop off. So if we're going to get into the Champions League, we're going to have to earn it. We're going to have to go to places like Old Trafford and win, go to places like the Emirates and win, and that is a massive ask of this team, even with these signings, purely because from a chemistry standpoint, now he's got 35 players to have in one dressing room, and that in itself is going to bring problems. So I am cliche taking this game by game, purely because my team has barely been able to string 2 wins together. So who am I to sit here and think we're going to get 10 wins in a row with a bunch of players that half of them I'm not even sure how quickly they're going to acclimatise. They've got off to good starts, and obviously some that I'm really banking on. But there are going to still be issues at Chelsea, because you can't have this amount of players and expect no one to have fallen out behind the scenes. So unfortunately, that is going to come with it.
Matisse, I read somewhere, came from Julian Lauren, tweeting that apparently you can only use 3 of your new signings in Europe. Have you heard about this?
Yes, and I try to avoid James. I'm having a good day.
Well, I want to ask who your 3 would be, because we were struggling ourselves.
Yeah.
We came up with a 3, which did include Badiashile. We thought, how can you not include your new centre back? So, who are your 3?
Pick them.
Is it only 3? Because I'm taking out a lot of players that are currently in there, in my opinion.
You can only add 3, so it doesn't matter how many you take out.
What a sticky
Apparently, I mean, look,
situation.
I've only seen that once, but he's
Even if
a
it's
reliable
not true,
source.
It's still interesting to see.
If that's the situation, then that's insane, right? But Enzo Fernandez has to be in there. For me, you have to probably add in Badiashile. And then at this point, if you're going from price standpoint and what we've paid for, Mudryk, right? But to not have
yeah, you can.
That's insane. But he is on loan, so he's not a permanent player. So he's kind of taking a hit for that. And the rest of them, I mean, I'm sorry, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But if that is true, that is outrageous, isn't it? But
I think the only saving grace may be the rules in terms of under 21s. Maybe you can sneak some of them.
Listen,
But hopefully not.
They're clearly the kings of loopholing, so
I
they're
know,
going to
it's
find
crazy.
a loophole.
They'll spread the registration over 8 years.
They'll spread their age over here. They'll do something.
Matisse, I've got a question for you. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this. So you signed a lot of players, as we all know, some real heavy hitters in there. How confident are you that Graham Potter can get the best out of those players?
Great question.
I am confident because he is a good coach. I'm not sure about the whole man management side of things. That's my question. Can he deal with this size of a squad? Probably not. I don't think any manager can, but that should get trimmed in the summer. But can he deal with the pressure? Can he deal with the egos potentially? Hopefully there are none now, but there will be some this season that we have to deal with. Can he step up to the plate? And also, tactically, he likes to be very flexible like he's shown at Brighton. Is that going to work on a week-to-week basis at Chelsea when you've got 2 games a week and you don't have as much time on the training pitch? I don't think so. So there's little things like that I question. I'm not 100% sitting here he's going to say he's going to be a guaranteed success, but he is a talented manager. That's why he got the job in the beginning. That's why people want him for the England coach role. So I'm confident that he can develop players. I'm confident that he can improve players. I'm confident he can get us playing a good style of football. But there's intangibles that he's never dealt with before that I'm not sure of. And he has to come up against the best managers now on the European stage and also go up against them to show it. So there's unknowns here.
All right, Matisse, we're going to wrap up in a sec, but let me just ask, because I think we're all not Chelsea fans, so we just have to ask, is this the end of the Chelsea madness now? There've been 2 big windows. It's all been a bit crazy. We know you're going to keep spending, you're going to invest, but this has been like nothing I've ever seen before. Has Todd Bowley set a trend now, or is this just to try and kickstart it, give that quick start, that quick fire under the Potter project, and then it's about incremental and small improvements as you go along? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think this window is basically a summer window, and even at that, it's still ridiculously ambitious to even do this many deals. So for me, in the summer, I'm not expecting more than maybe 2 or 3 new faces, and I'm expecting a lot of sales. Like, that's got to be the main target now: making sales, getting the squad down to a normal size. I think the amount of business they've done is unprecedented. Like, it's literally record-breaking, isn't it? So I'm not expecting to see this again. If it happens again, how shameless will I be? You ask yourself. Every week. But yeah, no, this is ridiculous. Like, it shouldn't happen. It won't keep happening. It can't keep happening from a FFP or financial standpoint. So they will have to calm down, whether that's in the summer or after. It can't happen too many more times.
I nearly let you go without even asking about Jorginho. You wouldn't think I'd forget with me repping the Italy jacket and all, but we talked a little bit over WhatsApp, and I read out what you said and thought you summed it up really well. But overall, I'm seeing a little bit of a feeling from the Chelsea fan base. Yes, we've got Enzo, brilliant, but there's actually a little bit of sadness towards Jorginho leaving, and there's an appreciation for what he did. Explain just where that comes from, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's a player that's kind of been written off a lot of times. Publicly, I think he was even booed in his own ground at one point, and he has limitations, 100%. We spoke about that on WhatsApp, and yes, you can see it physically. He's limited, but the mentality and the footballing IQ is very impressive and very important to mention. The player and the personality that you're bringing in is admirable, and I'm going to miss him 100%, even though I was happy for him to go for a free in the summer. So I do feel like we need a revamp there, and you've seen it with who's going to be your first choice, which is Partey. And Casemiro and Rodri, we spoke about that on Talking Tactics. That's what we need. We need someone to come in and do that, and he can't do that. But he's won what he's won. He's been important in those wins. He's played a lot of games. He's been starting. And you know, the mental fortitude that he's got is on another level. So taking high pressure penalties, you've seen it. So I got nothing but respect for him, and I don't like seeing him in an Arsenal shirt, but unfortunately, if it had to get done for this Enzo deal, then it is what it is.
Yeah, fair enough. Looks like everyone's a winner from that deal. Matisse, always a pleasure. It's been a busy day for you. You've just flown back from Portugal to get the deal done, so fair play to you, mate.
Matisse was the one running to the fax machine.
Yeah. You go wrap up the final details, dot the I's, cross the T's and all that. Matisse, always a pleasure, mate. I'll see you on Talking Tactics soon, I'm sure.
See you, bro. Pleasure, guys.
Bye.
All right, we're going to wrap things up. Let's just very quickly remind ourselves as well of everything else. For Leicester with a bit of business as well in the Entete, Opoku, Christensen, and they also got in Sutar from Stoke. They brought him in as well. Ayoze Perez went to Real Betis on loan. I didn't realise Cody Gakpo arrived for 45 million. I thought it was 38. No, it wasn't. 45 to Liverpool from PSV Eindhoven. No major departures. Massimo Perroni from Vélez Sarsfield for 8 million joined Manchester City. But João Cancelo went to Bayern Munich on loan. I just got to get 10 seconds each. Cancelo. I mean, is this just Pep going, no one's bigger than the club? I need to make a point here.
This is Pep handing the title to his adopted son Arteta. I don't understand it.
But he's sending a message, isn't he? No one's bigger than the club.
I think that's.
I don't have a problem with him getting rid of him, but I just think Man City have weakened himself for the second half of the season.
I think it's a risk. We'll see if it pays off, but look, Cancelo said there's no fallout. Whether or not I believe that, I don't. He was blocking Man City fans today.
Man City could go this season trophyless.
I'll tell you what I see from that. I agree with Abby. It's a risk. I don't necessarily agree with Nicks, although I kind of understand where you're coming from. They are weakened somewhat by him leaving. However, what I see is the bigger picture. Pep had identified it. It said that a few of the players are lacking in a bit of hunger. I think he needs to reinvigorate the team, and I think with the fallout with Cancelo, he's putting his foot down and saying, listen, man, you either ride with me or you're out.
I think one of the few penetrative players they still had, and he's gone. United, Butland, Weghorst. I forgot about Butland. Butland, Weghorst, and Sabitzer have come in.
4 out of 10.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Feels ages ago that Ronaldo left. Oh my goodness.
4 out of 10.
Newcastle did get in Harrison Ashby from West Ham for 3 million. Anthony Gordon for 45 million. Koal as well. Nottingham Forest, we just saw it confirmed there. They got Keylor Navas and John Joe Shelby over the line. Danilo strongly linked with Arsenal. Chris Wood on loan, as well as Gustavo Scarpa.
It's interesting with Forest. They kind of did a low-level Chelsea, didn't they? They sort of at the start of this season they brought in a whole load of players.
Yeah, so slightly more subtle this window. Carlos Alcaraz from Racing Clubs has joined Southampton for 12 million. Mislav Orsic from Zagreb, James Bree, and I think there was another, but it's not written down here. I'm not sure. The Sulemana they're trying to do. Danjuma and Pedro Porro for Tottenham, as you said. Hill, Spence, a few others out. Luis Al from Sao Paulo in at West Ham. Craig Dawson went to Wolves for 3.3 million. Wolves got Mateus Cunha, Mario Lemina, Pablo Sarabia, Dawson, as you mentioned, Daniel Bentley and João Gomez as well. So they brought in players. They absolutely brought in players, and that rounds off. Oh, has Guedes gone on loan to Benfica?
Yeah.
So much has happened.
A lot's going on. And
What a window.
just before we do wrap up, there is a big issue, by the way, for Hakim Ziyech in that deal to PSG.
He's not good enough.
They had signed, bless you, they had signed the contracts but were not sent to be registered in time. Dodgy fax machine. Contracts are not validated as of now. The clubs are trying to find a solution, so we'll see in the morning.
Yeah, they may get an extension.
Yeah, if they get an extension. And shout out to Abbi on the super chat. He said, DR Sport Production has grown so much since the start. Big up to you. Thank you for watching.
Thank you to the production team, they're amazing.
Yes.
Thank you to everyone else. Right, round of applause for everyone. Laurie. Meets. Abby. And just very quickly.
And Jane.
Oh, stop it. Transfer window winners, go.
Chelsea.
I mean, how can you not say Chelsea?
Chelsea.
Arsenal.
And on that note,
We'll see you later. Many thanks for joining. See you very soon.